Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Parallel Deku, back with another fanfiction. This is the second part of What If Deku Fell in Love with Female Katsuki. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku picked himself up off of the ground, his body sore and he had a decently sized headache. Are you okay? Katsumi asked as she huffed, not bothering to get off of the ground herself, content with lying there. Izuku rubbed his temple. I'm fine, but I don't think we should try anything else for a little bit. The two had been sparring on their second night on campus to test theories Izuku had about his telekinetic energy. So far Izuku had learned that he could enhance attacks, but it was at the risk of a headache at the current level. He would have to practice it more. You better be okay before our first heroic class. I can't look bad, Katsumi stated as she sat up. I'll be fine, but we should get back to the dorms. We don't have a class president yet, but I think Ada might scold us. Izuku offered a hand to Katsumi. I don't care what he says if he isn't in charge, Katsumi said as Izuku pulled her up. Either way, it won't look good if we break curfew on the first day of classes, Izuku stated as he grabbed his bag and pulled out water for them both. Fine. Tomorrow I want to test my own theories that me and Aunt Nimari discussed. The explosive girl took a swig of water. Izuku opened the gym door and locked it behind the two. What's the theory? Well, I don't have just nitroglycerin in my sweat. I have a few others. I really wasn't listening to the names. The guess was that I don't just make normal explosions, but I am an all-around grenade. Like I could possibly make a flashbang or a concussion grenade type of explosion. That would make you more annoying in battle. Izuku pictured her blinding someone before roundhouse kicking them. You don't get to talk about annoying powers when it seems like your mind could do too much shit. I'm halfway expecting you to start a fire by blinking now, Katsumi said. I don't think I have pyrokinesis, Izuku responded. Yeah, well, you did say you have no clue how strong your telekinetic powers really are, so don't doubt being able to start fires by blinking, Katsumi replied. I do have no clue, Izuku sighed. I prefer back when all I thought I could do was make platforms and walls. It was simpler. You're just lazy, Katsumi said. Whatever, Izuku responded as they got closer to the dorms. I'm going straight to bed, so good night. Good night, Izuku, Katsumi said as they entered the commons, and Izuku immediately went for the stairs. Hey, Aizawa, Inasa said loudly and happily. How was training? NNNNN, was Izuku's intelligent reply as he continued for the stairs. He's tired, Katsumi stated. I am too, so see you guys. Katsumi also left. We should have that same passion that they have, Inasa declared to the other people who were playing cards with him. I have my own passion, Quill said as he shuffled the cards. Game is now poker. Small bets because I am not trying to steal all of your money. Ibara looked irritated for a second. You gamble. With my backstory, gambling is necessary, Quill replied cryptically. Don't look down on others for their different choices on small matters like this. You don't know what goes on with everyone else. What did go on with you? Itsuka asked. Now curious just because of how Quill worded that. Not talking about my shitty life. We're playing poker. Who's in and who needs to learn the rules? Quill avoided the question. Mashurao made a motion with his hands. I don't know how to play, but I can learn. Quill started to pass out cards to him. Inasa, Mashurao, Itsuka, and surprisingly Shihai and Fumikage. Alright, there are the rules. This is the version called Omaha Hold'em, my personal favorite. Quill began to explain the rules. The next morning came soon and everyone got dressed and ready for class. Izuku came down the stairs quietly and saw that Katsumi was in the kitchen. Izuku, sit down, I am making breakfast, Katsumi said with a tone suggesting that she wasn't taking no for an answer. Oh, you're making breakfast for us? Hanta asked as he came closer. No, you, Katsumi said immediately. Katsumi, play nice, Izuku said as he put his head down on the table. Katsumi looked irritated but complied with what Izuku said. Fine. Anyways, no, I am making food for my friends and that's it. Who all are your friends? Hanta asked. Izuku, the girls, and I guess Hedgehog is okay, Katsumi said. Are you calling me Hedgehog? Quill looked slightly annoyed. You have quills and spiky hair that looks like Sonic, so congrats, your name is Hedgehog. Katsumi clapped her hands a few times. His hair is red, so wouldn't he be Knuckles instead? Itsuka asked. I need a nickname for you now, Quill decided. All I got is Grenade for now. I like it, Katsumi said. I'm Grenade and you're Hedgehog. Grenade sucks, Quill mumbled to himself. He could always get a better one later. Wait, so do you give everyone nicknames or just your close friends? Inasa asked Katsumi. I have one for everyone, but it's nicer for my friends. Lazy ass, Hands, Froggy, Vines, Hedgehog. Katsumi listed off her names for Izuku, Itsuka, Tsuyu, Ibara, and Quill. They just sound like basic observation names, Mashurao pointed out. Just something about their quirk or appearance. You are correct, Tails. Katsumi nodded. Mashurao held a slightly annoyed look. Tails, I have only one tail. But we have Sonic the Hedgehog. Katsumi pointed at Quill. and his psychic tails. I feel like trying to kick your ass. Quill deadpanned. No ass kicking, please, Tenya said as he came down the stairs at that moment. What he said. Izuku yawned. How are you always tired? Quill asked. I have not seen you go an hour without yawning or trying to sleep. Quirk, Izuku answered. I have a whole lot of energy actually all the time. But if I am not trying to do anything, my natural state is tired. So what you are saying is you only have energy when you feel like having energy? Mashiro asked. Pretty much. So always want energy. Quill said. Too hard. Izuku replied. Lazy ass. Quill repeated Katsumi's nickname for Izuku. Get your own nickname for him. Katsumi came from the kitchen area with a few plates expertly balanced on her arms. I've had ownership of that one for a long time. Too bad. Quill shrugged. It's probably the best nickname for him. I know, Katsumi said. I gave it to him. Mina gave a look to Toru as she typed a message to her friend. Toru read the message and nodded, agreeing to do their interrogation soon. Wow, Bakugo, you are an amazing cook, Ibara said as she took a bite. This is really good. Tsuyu agreed. Izuku made a smile to show he liked it. Itsuka also showed silent praise but nodding along to what Ibara and Tsuyu said. Do you like your food also? Hedgehog Katsumi asked the redhead. Quill took a bite. Alright, this is good. It's just good. Katsumi felt a little insulted. Everything is bland compared to this. This is divine holiness in its edible form. Quill said monotonously. Damn right it's holy. Katsumi grinned. They were now in their classroom, waiting for Shota to come in and start class. When do we actually start the hero training part of our hero course? Katsumi asked as she leaned back in her seat, looking at Izuku with her head tilted backwards at him. Sometime this week. Izuku shrugged. I really want to do it now. Quill said. If the course is anything like the exams, it will be fun. Are you talking about the recommendation exams or the regular entrance exams? Inasa asked. You are in both. Either one works. Quill said. Practice against other people or practice against robots is fine. Shota walked in at that point. Hello class. Today after lunch you will have your first foundational heroic studies class. Until then it is classes as usual. Great. Katsumi got excited. Are you teaching us? No, Shota said. There is a different teacher for that course. Who is it? Inasa asked. Probably another pro hero. Just wait a few hours, Izuku said. Can you tell us though? Aizawa-sensei Momo asked. Just wait and see. Shota sighed. Everyone finding Izuku and Shota's almost clone-like personalities a little funny. Lunch had ended and the class of 1A had returned to the classroom in anticipation, waiting eagerly for their mysterious teacher to show up. Shota had left just a moment earlier, stating he didn't want a headache from the teacher. Hey Izuku. Katsumi turned all the way around to face the boy. Izuku turned from the window to her. Can't you just sense who the person is as they come here? The ashy blonde asked. I could, but I don't want to, Izuku replied. Katsumi made a face. Just do it. Saying the words just do it won't get me to do it, Izuku said. It could be practice for your quirk. Katsumi tried to entice him. Or a way for you to not have to wait as long, Izuku responded. Before Katsumi could say anything, everyone heard a booming voice from the door. I am entering like a normal person. It was All Might, the #1 hero in Japan. All Might. GHT Inasa was in shock. It's All Might. It is All Might said. Hello young heroes, I am your teacher for your foundational heroic studies class. Awesome. Katsumi grinned. Today we will be having our first class, and it is something I would like to call the battle trials. I already love it. Quill smirked. Before I explain the rules, I have a surprise for you kids. All Might pressed a button on a wall and 20 suitcases came out of the wall, all numbered. Using notes and requests you left for us with your entrance exam applications, we have made the very first version of your hero suits. Most of the students were all smiling widely. That's awesome. Hanta grinned. It is very awesome. Everyone's suit is tied to the number of their seat. Suit up and meet me at what was test site 4 in ground beta. All Might left. Izuku's eyes went a little wide when he remembered what he did to Katsumi's hero suit sketches. He didn't do anything bad, but she was going to be surprised and possibly mad. A few weeks ago, Izuku and Katsumi were at Katsumi's place in her room. Katsumi had made Izuku join her there to do hero business, as she put it. We're making our hero suits, Katsumi announced to Izuku as she dropped a journal in his lap, as well as a pencil. Why? Izuku wasn't against it, but he was also lazy. Because you will probably just end up copying your dad's suit but changing the color. That's a little dumb, so I am making sure you are going to make an original suit that actually is your own. I wasn't going to rip off his idea, Izuku said. It was going to be similar, but not the same. I'll be the judge of that, Katsumi said. Later that night, Izuku showed the sketch to Katsumi once he finished. That looks nice, Katsumi said as she held the journal, actually liking what Izuku had made as a hero suit. If it was anything like the sketch in real life, then she would definitely see his muscles with this, not that she wanted to or anything. What's yours? Izuku said. This. Katsumi handed him her sketch. The grenades seem really bulky, Izuku said as he looked at her outfit. It was nice, but it didn't fit her like he figured not would. I wanted to make sure I could store some sweat for blasts, Katsumi said. That wasn't the real design she wanted, but the real design was something she thought would be dumb. What was that sketch you crumpled up earlier? Izuku asked, remembering she discarded a paper. It's stupid, Katsumi said. Don't worry about it. Sumi, come here, Mitsuki called for her daughter from the kitchen. I'll be right back. Katsumi jumped off of her bed to see what her mother wanted. Izuku looked over at the small trash can Katsumi had thrown the paper towards, where the paper had landed right next to it. Izuku went and got the paper, opening it to see what it was. To him, it was definitely a better hero suit for Katsumi than the bulky one she was going to go with. Maybe he can fix this one and convince her to go with it. The day they turned in their applications. Hey, lazy ass. Katsumi dropped a pillow on Izuku, who was napping on his couch. Izuku groaned as he got up. What is it? Applications are allowed to go in now, Katsumi said. You're taking them for us both because I can't. Mom and Dad want to have a family trip. Okay, Izuku mumbled. Are you sure that you want that hero suit you made? It doesn't seem as aerodynamic as it could be. Katsumi nodded. I am sure. Plus, even if I changed mind, it is too late now to make a new one. Actually, Izuku started. Before he could say anything, Katsumi's phone went off and she answered it. It's my mom, Katsumi said before she accepted the call. Just take our papers and please. She quickly left to not be late. Izuku held the envelope with Katsumi's hero suit. He knew she didn't want as much. She probably took this one over the one Izuku had recovered and updated because it didn't seem as girly. Katsumi wasn't masculine by any means, but she thought just being feminine made her look weak, even if she wanted to be feminine at times. Izuku sighed as he opened the envelope and swapped the hero suit sketches and notes. Katsumi might be mad at him for this for a bit, but it was without bias a better outfit and gear for her style. Present, Izuku figured he should mentally prepare himself for any yelling she might throw at him when she opens the case and sees it as different. Luckily, she didn't open the case yet. This is cool, Jiro said as he grabbed his case. Let's hurry up. Quill grabbed his case and made for the locker rooms. Katsumi opened her case and then stared at it for a few solid seconds. Is something wrong? Itsuka asked as Yuz looked at her friend. I'm trying to think about whether I should kill him first or get an explanation out of him then smack him over the head, Katsumi said. Who? Itsuka said. Izuku. Katsumi knew he was the one who changed the notes out. Who else would have been able to? Wait, what happened? Kyoka joined in. If a guy was messing with a girl, she would definitely kick their ass. He changed my hero suit, Katsumi said. We were working on them together and apparently he thought this design was better and swapped what I put. Katsumi knew Izuku wouldn't make her get a hero suit that was purposely bad. He probably found her papers she got rid of and made a few changes to help her with it. Is it at least decent? Itsuka asked. It better be or I will fight him. She started to pull the outfit out of the case. Izuku left the locker room in his brand new outfit. He had his dark green jacket that had loose sleeves that ended right at his elbows, which was great since his green gauntlets covered most of his forearms. His jacket was left open and underneath he had a black compression shirt that was made with material to absorb some of the impact to his midsection. He had his lime green goggles similar to his father's hanging around his neck, ready to put on when needed. He had the neck piece that Uncle Hisashi got him already in place so if he does use a shout it won't cause strain to his vocal cords or throat. Izuku had on dark green pants and black steel-toed boots as the rest of his outfit. Nice outfit, Quill said as he exited the locker room. Quill had on red and black patterned army pants, knee pads and thick boots as his outfit, nothing else. You actually look tough for once. You look hairy as shit, Hanta said as he got close. Dude, why didn't you get a shirt or something? All you got is pants and shoes. My quirk makes my hairs hard and sharp. Can't cover them up, Quill said. But why are you so hairy? Hanta asked. I don't think people get this much hair unless they are related to a Sasquatch. Quill was actually pretty hairy. Not a spot on him didn't have at least small red hairs. It's helpful for my quirk so I don't complain. Inasa joined them. You might not even need a shirt with all the hair though. If you can make all of your hairs hard on command, does that include your pubes? Hanta asked. Everyone stared at Hanta for a solid few seconds. Quill, looking both annoyed and disgusted, spoke first. I really want to kick your ass now. But do they? Hanta asked. Shut up. Quill left the group. That's a yes. The teep-using teen nodded to himself. Dude, why is that the question you have? Jiro looked at Hanta. Hanta shrugged. It just popped in my head. Soon the guys all were at the area, waiting for the girls to get there. You have a lot of hair, Shihai said as he looked at Quill. How many times are you guys gonna point that out? Quill seemed irritated. Sorry, my bad. Shihai didn't want to get on Quill's bad side. Hey, Toru said, getting all of the guys' attention as she and the test of the girls showed up. Are you naked? Hanta asked Toru as he and everyone else noticed she only had gloves and shoes. Don't look at them, Toru said as it looked like, guessing from her gloves' movements, she was covering the invisible objects from being seen. You're invisible, Quill said. We can't see them anyways, unless Aizawa races her quirk. Hanta pointed out. I'm not doing that, Izuku said. He looked at Toru. Why not try making a suit from your DNA or hair or something, that way you're not nude and exposed to the elements? Toru stared at Izuku for a solid few seconds of silence. I didn't think of that. That way if I do end up using my area of effect erase, I won't accidentally make you flash everyone in the area. Izuku said, I don't want to flash anyone. I'm going to make that suit. Katsumi then arrived. Aizawa, she shouted and got everyone's attention. Izuku looked at her like a deer caught in headlights because he wasn't used to her angrily yelling his last name. Don't change my shit without telling me, she was in his face at that point, jabbing a finger into his. Izuku nodded. I will let you know next time. You better. Katsumi sounded way too calm for how pissed she just was. After a second she very quietly said a few more words. Thanks, I like it. Katsumi's hero suit had black pants that showed off her legs ending right above her metal knee pads. Her boots and gloves Izuku had gotten her. A black sleeveless top with a crimson X that showed off her top assets slightly. A green utility belt that held small grenades and a pouch. The biggest difference between her old outfit and this was that instead of a face mask that would look like an explosion, she had a pair of crimson goggles that would protect her eyes from any heat or debris. She also had bracers on each forearm that were meant originally to be giant grenades to store her sweat for a massive blast. But instead, because of Izuku's interference, she had the red bracers about as thick as Izuku's own gauntlets that stored 4 different smaller blasts each that could be released all at the same time or separately. They were a lot smaller than the grenade ones she had made, but they still could do massive damage and were more aerodynamic, so she could move faster during her fighting. I was expecting you to yell more, Izuku said. I was going to, but the outfit was nice. Katsumi hid her blush. She had originally gotten calmer earlier when she realized the outfit fit her really well, meaning that Izuku must have noticed her body in order to write measurements for it. That was something she felt like she should be pissed about, but the thought of Izuku looking at her like that made her forget the other stuff. But then she realized she should probably ask him how the hell he got her measurements. How did you get the size right? She narrowed her eyes at Izuku. I asked your mom to write them, Izuku answered. Part of Katsumi got disappointed, so Izuku didn't look at her like that. Yaorazu is that even allowed? Hanta asked, being the apparent king of the class when it comes to. The question girl had a leotard with a lot missing down the middle, leaving virtually nothing to anyone's imagination. Momo looked barely embarrassed by the question. I need to use my quirk and everything pops out of my skin. I would have less if it wasn't for the hero suit regulations. Katsumi felt jealous that the guys were drooling over another girl, doing what she did when they were staring at Toru before she looked at Izuku to see if he was also being a perv at that point. He wasn't, which for some reason was a relief to her. Instead, Izuku was talking to Quill. So the chains, Quill began, pointing at the bracers on Izuku's forearms. How hard do they shoot out? Izuku pointed his gauntlet at a pole away from the group and launched the chain. A loud clang was heard as the metal ball collided with the pole, putting a dent in it. They have different levels of speed. Well shit, whoever made this is a genius. Quill nodded. Izuku looked at Katsumi. Yeah, you're really hairy, Ibara stated as she looked at Quill. The red-haired teen groaned. So I've heard. The final person to show up besides All Might was Azula. Her hero outfit consisted of a pair of black pants, shoes and shirt, a dark red trench coat that her wings could fit through slots in, and black gloves. Wow, your outfit is nice, Hanta commented. I will shove your shoulder pads down your throat. Azula didn't even look at him. Best not to mess with the class, Quill said as he moved Hanta away from her. What did you just call me, you pincushion? Azula snapped. I called you the class, you uptight emobat, Quill replied with his own irritation to the angry girl. Wow, that didn't take long, Katsumi stated. I'm going to. Azula was trying to say a threat. Oh, please tell me how you think you are going to hurt me. Quill cut her off. I need something to laugh at. Azula had black energy swirl around her fist, but a voice interrupted them. Students, do not fight. All Might arrived. It isn't very heroic to squabble like you are. Quill nodded. Yes, sir, All Might. Azula shot a glare at Quill before she released her energy. Today, students, we are doing battle trials. We will be doing a mock simulation of an event that happened back in my days in America. You will be split into teams of 2 at random and will either be the hero team or the villain team in the situation. All Might explained. Why at random? Ochako asked. That's probably because a situation can and will happen at any point, and you might have to team up with a random hero to handle it. Itsuka explained. This is a test of how we can operate in a team on the spot with only a little bit of thinking ahead of time. Momo added, Young Yaorazu and Kendo, you are both correct in your reasons for the random teams. You never know when a situation calls for an impromptu team up. You will all draw lots for what team you will end up on, and I will have you draw another card to decide your opponents and what sides you'll be on. This exercise is indoors, as most of the time the crafty villains will find a way to battle you inside of a building. So the villain team will get 5 minutes to prep the building with traps and the like to prevent heroes from doing their heroics. What exactly are our heroics? Ibara asked. The heroes must either capture both villains with the supplied capture tape or have them incapacitated. or the main objective of getting their hands on a bomb the villains have stashed in the building that the villains must defend. Prep phase will be 5 minutes and action phase will be 10 minutes. The test of the class will be with me watching as you go through the trial, and we will discuss how everything was after each match. Both teams will have mics to talk to each other, but the viewers can hear everything once the action phase begins. Any questions? Quill raised a hand. Yes, young Quill, All Might asked. I'm going to take a guess that we can't be destructive as high hell in the building, Quill asked. No serious damage should be done. Heroes have to be careful to not set off the bomb, and villains don't want to lose their cover from outside law enforcement. But if the bomb goes off with the building, why don't the villains just blow the building, Katsumi asked. Because they would die, Inasa said, confused as to why Katsumi asked that. Well then those villains suck, Katsumi said. Why fight for a cause if you aren't willing to put your life on it? To live for another fight, Izuku suggested. That makes sense, I guess. She accepted the response. Let's draw your lots now, All Might announced. You are paired up with the person who has the same number as you. The kids all drew cards. Izuku had a 7 while Katsumi had an 8. Katsumi inwardly pouted that she wasn't on a team with Izuku, and he was also a little disappointed. Azula held her card that had an 8. Who also has an 8? Katsumi groaned. She couldn't be with Izuku, but she of course would end up with me. Azula gave Katsumi a look. At least you don't suck. Katsumi wanted to groan out loud but didn't. Was this how Izuku felt when he first met Katsumi? That guy must have patience, even if he was also kind of an ass back then. Who has 7? Momo asked. Izuku held up his hand. I do. Looks like we're a team. Momo smiled. Katsumi felt like punching Miss Big Tits. Of all of the possible people Izuku ended up with, why was it the girl who was showing everyone pretty much all her business? Why did Katsumi even care? She had a mad look in Izuku and Momo's direction that Itsuka noticed. Quill held up his card that had a 4 as he was preoccupied checking his arm hairs to make sure they weren't knotted. Hey Harry man, we're teammates, Kyoka said as she showed her card with a 4. He ignored the name. You can hear through walls, right? Quill asked. Yep, Kyoka nodded as she twirled one of her jacks. I can plug these in and hear a lot. You're going to be probably the most important part of the team then, Quill said, his statement throwing her off because she wasn't expecting him to just label her the better member of the team. The rest of the teams soon were established. Now I shall have one person from each team draw a card until their team has been selected for a match, All Might said as he held out the bin with the cards to Team 1, Mina and Inasa. Take a card and whoever else's team has that number is your opponent. Even teams will be heroes and odds are villains. Mina pulled out a card and held up a 7. Both of our teams are odd numbered. Your choice then, All Might said. Mina looked at Inasa, then at her opponents Izuku and Momo. We'll be the heroes. We'll be the best heroes, Inasa pumped his fist. I love your enthusiasm, All Might grinned. Team 2, this is your turn. He held out the bin to Itsuka and Ochako. Ochako grabbed a card and showed the 4. Ochako handed the card to Itsuka. You can probably make a better plan than me, so you can pick. I'm sure you can make good plans, Itsuka said. But if you really want me to pick, I think we should be on defense. Excellent. Now for Team 3 to pick, the pro hero said as he held the cards to Ijiro and Tenya. Ijiro grabbed a card. We have a 5. He held the card up, meaning they would fight Ibara and Tsuyu. Ijiro and Tenya shared a look. Your call, Ida. I think defense would benefit us more, but it's up to you. Defense would be wiser as we can set up defenses and have a bit of home advantage, Tenya said in thought. I believe, however, we should learn how to properly enter a building and hostile event as well. I say we take the hero role. Ijiro nodded. You're the boss. Excellent. All Might was glad the kids could decide and cooperate well. Team 6, it is now your turn to pick. He let Mashurao and Hanta grab their card and held it up, revealing it was an 8. Katsumi was peeved she couldn't at least be in the same match as Izuku. Going against tails and elbows wouldn't be that bad, but class as a teammate without Izuku somewhere in the mix was a drag. Izuku was also a little annoyed because he thought it would have been fun for them both, but now it wasn't as much. We take offense, Mashurao said after a few words with Hanta. Yep, Hanta nodded along. Great. That leaves Team 9 and 10 to go against each other, All Might said. Shihai looked at Toru. Looks like we have defense. We can do this. The invisible girl pumped her fist towards Shihai. Shoto and Fumikage said nothing about the match placement. Alright kids, the matches will go in this order. Ashido and Yurashi versus Aizawa and Yaoyorozu. Second is Quill and Gyro versus Kendo and Uraraka. Third is Kirishima and Ida versus Shizaki and Asui. Fourth is Anjiro and Siro versus Bakugo and Amine. Final match is Takoyami and Todoroki versus Kirwaro and Hagakure. Match 1 participants, if you would kindly follow the markers to your building, and the test of you follow me to the viewing room. All Might began to walk the path to the building. Good luck, lazy ass. Katsumi lightly punched Izuku's shoulder as she walked past. Thanks for not beating me up earlier. Izuku tapped her shoulder in return. So what should we do? Momo asked as Shion and Izuku stood in front of the bomb, which was a big paper mache nuke. Light enough one of them could easily pick it up and move. Izuku looked at the bomb. Hirashi has the ability to use his wings and his suit to fly. I advise against rooms with windows. Momo nodded. When they enter, I believe Ishido might have a lot of flexibility with her acid and fighting style, so even if you turn off her quirk, she would be a decent fight. I suggest putting the bomb on the top floor, center of the floor, and we set up traps on that floor only. Izuku said. Why just the 5th floor? Momo asked. It would take away time for prepping. We shouldn't set any traps for letting us know their positions. I can just sense them. That's smart, Momo said. Thanks, Izuku said. Your creation can help us make traps. Momo nodded. What kind of traps are you thinking of? Izuku yawned as he picked up the bomb with his telekinetic energy and guided it up the stairs, Momo following. I don't know what you already know how to make, so I leave that to you. I trust you can do well. Which room should we put this? Momo liked how well thought out Izuku had his plans, but didn't try to act like only his thoughts mattered, actually trying to let her give input. She looked in a doorway. This room has a hole in the back wall into a room with a window, so this might not be smart. We should make it a room with one entrance in and out. Izuku nodded as he set down the bomb, not wanting to waste all of his energy yet. That's smart. We can even wait with both of us by the bomb, since you can make traps and I can sense when they are getting close. A small mechanism with strong coming from it popped out of Momo's thigh. She held it and created a screw and a drill. This room right here is perfect. Momo patted the doorway as she began to drill the trap into the inside of the doorway. Izuku nodded. That works. I will put the bomb in a corner. Mina hopped from one foot to another. I am pumped. We are going to be so awesome. Ina-san nodded. This is very exciting, our first bout of hero training. It also helps that we both are dressed to kill, Mina said. We look like baddies. Ina-san, despite not necessarily liking the language, he did admit their outfits were good, Mina looking amazing in his opinion. We are indeed looking good. So what's the plan, big guy? Mina asked. I believe they might set up higher in the building and that we should stick together during this. Ina-san nodded. Indeed, Yaoyorozu and Aizawa are probably the 2 smartest in the class. They no doubt already have a whole plan. We should be careful, and I believe that Aizawa will definitely be their key player. He has that sensory ability, so he will know when and where we are coming from. If they set everything up near the top, they might cancel your winds, so you can't just fly through a window at them, so we will actually have to go up the stairs. Mina pointed out. They honestly have a huge advantage just because of Aizawa's quirk. However, we are heroes and we ignore bad odds and try anyways. Inasa got more excited. Yes, we will try our best to persevere. Katsumi huffed again as she waited with the others for the match to start. All Might had them all in a room where multiple screens showed the building and its surroundings, including one for each participant in the test. She really wanted to be in the test with Izuku. She was standing off away from everyone at that moment. What's up your ass? Katsumi didn't even notice when Azula got near her. The dark girl was giving Katsumi a look like she expected an answer. Why do you care? Katsumi asked. I really don't, Azula said bluntly. I just don't want your stupid emotional problems getting in the way of our match. They won't, so shut up. Katsumi gave Azula an irritated look. Azula didn't try to say anything else, looking a little annoyed. Students, I would like to hear how you all think this match will go. All Might turned to the 16 kids. Katsumi spoke immediately. Izuku's going to win. Not even giving anyone but your crush a chance, Hanta joked. I'll kick your ass. Katsumi didn't think to notice she didn't deny having a crush on Izuku, which several of her classmates actually noticed but wisely didn't comment on. His team is going to win because of his intelligence alone. He can make a plan on the spot and his abilities make him hard to beat. He will stay by the bomb and Miss Yaoyorozu will probably be given some idea by Izuku to follow and he will easily take out Pinky and win boy. Aizawa's telekinesis is deadly. Quill added. Telekinetic energy. Katsumi corrected. Whatever. Quill responded. He can sense them enter the building and can just wait till they get close and strike before they even know what is going on. He has good combat skills and Hirashi lacks them, so Aizawa will quickly take him out while erasing quirks, and Ishido will probably be his challenge since he doesn't know her skills yet. Quill finished. They know he can sense them, so they will be on edge the whole time and he will take advantage of it knowing him. Is Yaoyorozu even a factor to you too? Mashirao looked at Quill and Katsumi. She makes it worse for the heroes, Quill said. Katsumi didn't say anything. All Might nodded. Those sound like good possibilities. Let's see how they do. Izuku sat down and crossed his legs right in front of the bomb. 5 seconds. 5 seconds till what? Momo asked over. They're giving comms as she put another trap down. Let the first match begin. All Might announced the start. Oh, Momo said. She didn't know. Izuku was keeping count. How does your sensing work? Izuku took a breath. I'm doing it now. He paused, trying to find them. Finding them, he spoke. South side. Coming in together. I can wait by the staircase and hit them when they come up. Momo offered. You can tell me when and I can take at least one of them out. If you think it will work, I am completely fine with it, Izuku said. I can let you know when they get close. A few minutes passed, Momo in waiting for her chance to attack the hero team and Izuku sitting by the bomb. They are going up the north stairs in roughly 40 seconds, Izuku stated. They have been alternating staircases as they go. If you can get there before them, you should get going. On it, Momo said as she quickly made her way across the floor to the staircase. She stopped when she heard Izuku speak again. Stop. They're already on the staircase, and we'll hear you if you approach at that speed, Izuku warned Momo. They might search past you first, so wait behind a doorway to hit them. Momo moved into the closest doorway and waited silently. Stay back but count to 10, Izuku said. Then jump out, they should be past you. Momo waited the 10 seconds before created a staff from her midsection and jumping into the hallway. Inasa and Mina in front of her facing away from her at first. Mina tried to turn but Momo smacked her hard enough with the staff to disorient her. Inasa tried to channel his winds but found that he couldn't use them. Mina couldn't create her acid either. I can hold them both for 30 seconds if you can try to subdue them, Izuku said as he focused on keeping their quirks disabled. He was getting up to join the fight but he doubted that he needed to. Momo didn't reply but quickly used her staff to knock Mina off of her feet and slammed the end into Inasa's shoulder. Inasa took the hit well and went forward to use the very little fighting practice he had from Mashirao and Quill. He blocked it from the staff with his forearm, but got knocked over as another staff burst from Momo's knee straight into his stomach with force. Mina tried to attack Momo, but chains popped into her vision from behind her and wrapped her up, pinning her arms to her sides. Turning, she saw Izuku with his eyes glowing lime green and his hair floating. Wait, Mina realized that if he was currently using his telekinetic energy to make the chain wrap around her, then he wasn't currently disabling their quirks. She tried to make acid to melt the chains, but none came out. I switched back once I had it set, Izuku stated. Inasa looked at his situation and had a frown. He really wasn't in a good situation. Izuku had his quirk disabled and his teammate locked up. Momo was right there ready to hit him with the staff again. As much as he wanted to keep fighting, he knew he shouldn't be dumb in a trial, so he sighed before he spoke. I concede. Inasa had a disappointed look. Mina shared that look. Yeah, we got diddled real quick. The first match is over. Aizawa and Yaoyorozu win, All Might announced. The 4 kids were now with the other 16 and All Might in the viewing room. Alright class, tell me any thoughts on this match, All Might said to the 16 not involved in the match. Aizawa completely owned that match, Hanta said. Definitely. Ijiro nodded. His sensory ability let him track them through the building. Yaoyorozu had good traps and fought greatly, but Aizawa's quirk shutdown power kept Urashi from creating any possible winds to blow them away. It did confuse me at first, Inasa admitted. I thought that Aizawa could only erase quirks if he is really close to someone or looking at them. It takes more to cancel quirks like I just did, Izuku said. We really didn't stand a chance because of his telekinesis. Mina pouted. Telekinetic energy. Both Izuku and Katsumi corrected her at the same time. They both looked at each other for a second before they both got a pink tint and looked away from each other. Itsuka looked at Katsumi and smirked. They definitely had to talk about that later. Aizawa's quirk is definitely something that makes him a tough opponent. All Might nodded. In that case, he is MVP of the first match. MVP, Izuku asked. Is there anything to it other than the title? All Might nodded. Indeed, young Aizawa. Next class we will have the MVPs all have a role, but that role is secret till then. Izuku shrugged. Okay, now we begin the second match. Will those participating follow the markers to the building, please? All Might asked. Itsuka enlarged her hands and held up the bomb. Alright, Uraraka, where do you think we should put this? Ochako didn't really expect to have her input be valued. I think we should keep it near the 3rd floor. The top would be expected. Itsuka nodded. Lead the way. We can talk on the way. Ochako nodded. I think we should not roam or even move during the action phase. Itsuka made a confused look. Why so? Gyro's earphone jacks. Ochako answered. She could hear us move and easily tell where we are. However, I think we can not register with her locating if we manage to not make a sound she can't locate us. That's good thinking. Itsuka nodded. How do we deal with Quill though? From what I have seen, he is really strong physically and we aren't equipped to fight him close quarters. His quills will cut us if we try to touch him. Ochako suddenly got an idea. I know what to do. Itsuka raised an eyebrow. Let me hear it. What are your thoughts, students? All Might asked. Izuku raised his hand slightly. If I may, I think Gyro and Quill have the advantage. Quill's quirk makes you really not want to get close, especially if you learn he likes battling and is an expert at it like everyone here knows. However, the advantage is his smarts. Quill is smart, Hanta asked, half joking. It's easily ignored when he is normally very aggressive. Izuku remembered how he had first met Quill. He is brilliant at fighting. However, since he hates failing and since the recommendation exams has been accepting more input, he will actually make a plan with Gyro. So Azula asked, thinking Izuku was talking up a friend. Just watch, I guess. Izuku shrugged. Quill was pacing back and forth in front of the building. Kyoka was standing near the middle of his track. What's the plan, hairy man? Kyoka asked. Quill, deciding not to get mad over the mentions of his hairiness, spoke. I am more of the muscle. What's your take first? Kyoka was surprised he was willing to let her speak first. Oh well, Uraraka's quirk is definitely a toughie. One touch and we lose our gravity and are stuck in the air like a balloon. My quills might prevent her from wanting to try to use her quirk on me, but I doubt she won't attempt it. Kendo might just enlarge her hands and break a wall to use as a weapon. Quill thought. Well, we can use my earphones to locate them and then go in. You in front with your quills out and just get through to the bomb. We only need to tap it to win, so we should focus on that. Kyoka said. I enjoy a good fight, but I guess if not necessary, we can go for the bomb. Quill figured he can get a good fight later during training. I got a question. Kyoka raised an eyebrow. What is it? Can you use those jacks as ropes or weird limbs if you wanted? Quill asked. Weird limbs? Kyoka didn't know if she should be insulted. If you get tagged by the gravity girl, can you use them to pull yourself around? Quill asked. That way you aren't technically disqualified because you are still mobile. She can tag you but drop her guard while you move along the ceiling to the bomb. They wouldn't see that as a possibility. Kyoka didn't expect something genius like that to come from Quill. She honestly figured he was just an aggressive meathead. That's actually, let the match begin. All might cut her off. Let's do this. Quill punched his fists together, the hardened quills making sparks. Kyoka plugged an earphone into the wall. After a bit she looked confused. I can't hear them. Quill gave her a look. Can't hear them. I can hear movements in the building and almost something like echolocation. Right now I can't feel them. Shit. What? Quill asked. It's Uraraka. She knows I can sense things through their sounds. She must be having them stand still, or I'm having them float so they won't make sounds I can detect. Kyoka sighed. So let's just go into the building and search everything as fast as possible. Quill said. While we do that, try to keep one ear to the walls because they might react to us moving. How will they hear us? Kyoka doubted. Itsuka and Ochako would hear them easily. You say echolocation, so let's make something that echoes loud. Quill made all of his hairs on his head, including the very thin hairs he had on his face, harden. What are you doing? Kyoka asked. Making noise. Quill answered as he slammed his head insanely hard into the wall, making a hole and a loud crashing sound. Kyoka was about to question the red-haired teen's sanity when she heard it, the sound of someone turning in surprise to the sound. I found one, Kyoka said happily. Okay, let's go, Quill said as he rubbed his head. Lead the way. Did you have to headbutt the wall though? Kyoka asked as they went up the stairs. Gotta get the pumping. Quill said. That was a bit much. Ibara commented after everyone saw Quill headbutt the wall and put a hole through it. He punched a window one time. Izuku said. Broke the window and the wall around it. How strong is he? Hanta was glad he wasn't against Quill. Azula, even though she didn't want to care, did raise an eyebrow and watch Quill with some interest. Quill moved in front of Kyoka. I'll take any attack, I guess. They have to use physical contact and my quills make that something unwise. Kyoka nodded. Third floor. Got it, Quill said as he went up the stairs to the third floor, making every hair on his upper body sharpen. Do you only sharpen the hairs on your upper body? Kyoka asked. If I need the leg hairs, I will sharpen them later, Quill said. Suddenly Ochako jumped around the corner and tried to grab at Quill's lower body. Hearing that his legs wouldn't cut her, she tried to grab them. She did manage to touch him, however it wasn't his legs, and the force she had definitely wasn't good for Quill. Every guy in the viewing room winced when they saw where Quill just got hit. Rip my man Quill, Hanta said. Quill didn't know how to react. He just got punched in a man's weak spot and sent to the ceiling, his gravity gone. Kyoka quickly had her earphones and her speakers on her boots and hit Ochako with a blast, sending the girl away from her. Quill, are you fine? Kyoka looked at the ceiling, where Quill was holding a certain thing in pain. He took a second to respond. Let's not talk about this. Quill's voice was a pitch higher than usual. I'm so sorry, Ochako said as she stood back up. I meant to hit your thigh. She was so embarrassed that she just smacked Quill there of all places. It sucks, but moving on. Kyoka sent another wave of sound at Ochako, knocking her back off of her feet. Kyoka kept a stream of sound aimed at Ochako so she could get closer. Ending the stream, she tried to wrap Ochako up, but a pair of large hands belonging to Itsuka tried to swing at Kyoka. Kyoka dodged barely and sent a blast at Itsuka, which was blocked with an overly sized hand. Itsuka ran forward and backhanded Kyoka away, sending her into a wall. Kyoka rolled away as Itsuka tried to throw another attack at her. The earphone girl kicked out at the redhead's leg, hitting her ankle and sending her to her knee. Kyoka rolled away again to dodge another attack and got up just as Itsuka did. You're good. Itsuka smiled. Thanks, Kyoka replied. 2-on-1. Ochako got up and stood with Itsuka across from Kyoka. Think you can handle that? The heroes have secured the bomb. The heroes win, All Might announced. How the three girls all said in confusion. You forgot about me. They heard Quill call out from a room. Give me back my gravity, please. Ochako clapped her hands together and they heard a thump as Quill got back on the ground. He walked into the hallway, still walking a little off. Don't forget opponents until they are completely out. I'm sorry, Ayachako tried to apologize. Let's just not talk about it. Quill cut her off, looking embarrassed for the first time since they all met. Let's just get graded. Match 2's participants had returned. Quill not standing with them but actually sitting down, still embarrassed about how he got hit. What are everyone's thoughts on this match? All Might asked. He is the MVP. Aizawa surprisingly said. He had reasonable plans that even when things changed he kept adapting. Even still going after the girl hit his crotch. I'm sorry, Achako repeated. She felt really bad about it. You didn't intend to do it. Quill was calm about it somehow, but his face showed embarrassment since his cheeks were the same shade of red as his hair. You have a good strike though. Quill's use of his apparent out and being forgotten about to get to the bomb was a good move, using his quills to move along the ceiling to the bomb. Izuku added. If that is how people feel, then I reward young Quill with MVP of match 2. All Might said. Woo, Quill said weakly, not sure how to feel about his earning that title. Match 3, if you would kindly prepare for your match. All Might indicated to the next 4. Ijiro and Tenya waited outside of the building. So what's the plan, Ada? Ijiro asked. I believe that we should watch out for Shizaki the most. Isui might have a lot of proficiency in close combat. Shizaki can wrap us in the vines and we will be trapped. Tenya mused. Well, since I am only good at close combat, I might not do as well against her. Ijiro pointed out. You might be fast enough to avoid her vines. Oh, I know I can pull a distraction play. Tenya raised an eyebrow. Go on. Ibara placed the bomb down with her vines. Is this a good spot? The vine-haired girl asked. Tsuyu nodded. It is. The 4th floor has the higher ceiling but walls that don't go all the way up. I can hop around up there and drop on them. I shall stay in here and guard the bomb. My vines can wrap them up as they enter, Ibara stated as she stood in front of the bomb and the one entryway to the room. That works. Ribbit. Tsuyu paused. Actually, I have an idea. Any predictions on this match? All Might asked. Froggy and Vines will win, Katsumi stated. Those girls are smart. On the side, Aizawa looked at Quill near her, who was still sitting down. Are you okay? Aizawa asked. What do you want to make jokes? Quill doubted that Aizawa had anything nice to say. No, Aizawa denied the accusation. Shocker, Quill responded. Aizawa burrowed her eyebrows. A minute of silence followed before she said a few more words. Good job being MVP. She had stopped facing Quill at that point. Quill looked up at the girl known for being a complete rude aggressive person in confusion. Let the match begin. All Might signaled the start of the match. Let's get this win. Ijiro hardened up and ran in the building, Tenya charging up his engines and following Ijiro. Remember to stick behind me until we encounter who I assume is going to be Isui first. I understand, Kirishima. Tenya nodded. The two searched the first 3 floors efficiently with no success of locating the bomb. Upon moving to the 4th floor, they had searched 2 rooms before Tsuyu's tongue shot down at them from above, wrapping around Ijiro's calf and flipping him upside down through the air. You know the drill, Ida, Ijiro shouted as he got up, smacking Tsuyu's tongue away as she sent it at him again. Tsuyu dropped from the rafters and slammed a kick into Tenya before he could get away properly to search for the bomb. Ribbit. That won't work well, Tsuyu said as she used her tongue to flip Tenya over. Shizaki now. Vines shot down from the ceiling and grabbed both Tenya and Ijiro by their legs and pulled them upside down off of the ground and held them in the air. You have both been captured heroes. Ribbit, Tsuyu said. Oh man, this sucks. Ijiro groaned. This is indeed a bad outcome for us. Tenya agreed. The villains have captured the heroes. The villains win. All Might announced the end of the match. Your teamwork is remarkable, Ijiro stated to Tsuyu and Ibara as they were let down from the vines. Thank you, Ibara said. It was actually Isui's idea. Call me Tsu, the frog girl said. It was a team effort. All right, students. All Might started. Thoughts on match 3? My girls kicked ass, Katsumi stated with a grin. My girl Froggy made a kick-ass plan and it kicked ass. Language please, Bakugo. All Might said. What she means is that Isui's plan was genius and capitalized on their surroundings and their quirks. Izuku said. It was a very efficient plan. I doubt many of the people could have countered it. Momo added. Tsuyu was smiling with pride and also feeling a little embarrassed by the praise. With that in mind, I believe young Isui is the MVP of match 3. All Might stated. Will the next 4 kids make their way to the building? I want this done quick, Aizawa stated as they entered the building. How quick are you talking? Katsumi asked. Fast, Aizawa said as she grabbed the bomb. What's the rush? Katsumi asked. Aizawa didn't answer. She wasn't going to say her real reason. Something had piqued her interest about someone in class and she had to distance herself from that if she were to achieve her goal of why she was even there. I just want this done quick. All right, Katsumi shrugged. Let's leave that here on the 1st floor then. Leave it in a back room and beat them up as they enter the building. Aizawa nodded. We're on the same page for once. How does her black energy work exactly? Katsumi asked. They had a lot of time for prep that was useless since their plan was straight up fighting Meshurao and Hanta at the front door. As much as she didn't like Aizawa, they were on a team at that moment and Aizawa seemed nicer for the moment. It's just energy that is black. Aizawa let a ball of the energy come to life in her hand, and dancing around like a ball of black fire. I can send a shockwave around me or just throw it and it hits like a shockwave from there. Nice, Katsumi said. Send 2 of those when elbows enters. He will be annoying with his tape. What's the plan? Hanta said, his elbows together. I think that we will have to play this smart. Mashirao said. Aizawa says that Bakugo is very aggressive as a fighter and also really smart battle-wise. They probably have it set up strategically somewhere high in the building. They might. Hanta nodded. I wouldn't be surprised. Amane has that energy stuff, so she might shoot me out of the air if I try to swing up to the top. Let's enter through the front then, Mashirao said. Thought students All Might asked. The villains will win. Quill said. Katsumi has a really high talent for battle, so it isn't good for Ajiro and Siro. Izuku said. Amane's energy is powerful even if she physically lacks strength. The match begins, All Might announced. Hanta was the first one in the door and he was immediately hit with a dark blast of energy, smacking into the wall. Siro, Mashirao shouted in surprise. Think fast, Katsumi said as she blasted towards the tailed teen and began a quick onslaught of attacks. She had to admit that Mashirao was good at defending him, but her explosions proved to be too much for Mashirao. She hit him with one more final blast that knocked him over before she slammed a kick into his and kept her foot there. Don't move. Katsumi turned to see that Aizawa had 2 handfuls of energy that she was ready to throw at Hanta, who hadn't gotten time to get up from being knocked into the wall. You guys concede. Katsumi looked down at Mashirao. Mashirao sighed, thinking it was embarrassing to be taken down this quickly. I concede. What he said. Hanta rubbed some that had leaked from his nose. That hurt. The heroes have surrendered. The villains win, All Might announced. Was that fast enough? Katsumi asked Aizawa. The dark-haired girl nodded with a small grin beginning to form. Yes, that was fast enough. All right, students. All Might started. Thoughts on match 4? It was fast, Toru commented. Dynamite and Bat really know how to use their quirks, Quill said. Their plan to just jump the front door was unexpected, and it showed when Elbows barely got the chance to fight and Tail put up a good fight, but Dynamite was too much. She should get MVP. Dynamite. Katsumi repeated the nickname. I thought I was Grenade. Your whole red look just reads Dynamite. Quill shrugged. All makes sense. Katsumi nodded. Give MVP to her. I didn't originally plan to rush this and it was her idea. In that case, young Amane is MVP of match 4. All Might stated. Aizawa was surprised that Katsumi said that. Why would she give up the MVP? Katsumi looked at Izuku, who was smiling at her. Good job, angry ass. Izuku mouthed to her. It made Katsumi smile as well. She knew she was MVP to someone. Final match participants, please go to the building, All Might said. Shihai looked at the bomb and then where Toru was supposed to be. I think we should stay on the first floor, Shihai said. Why? Toru asked. They might not expect it, and I also have a plan that involves taking out Fumikage, Shihai said. I'm listening, Toru said. Fumikage looked at Shoto, who was not saying anything. What is our plan, Todoroki? Fumikage asked. Shoto thought for a second. He really expected when he entered this class to be so far above everyone else skill-wise. However, seeing Izuku and Katsumi's abilities, he thought that maybe there wasn't as big of a gap as he originally figured there would be. He should actually at least make a decent plan. I will send out a wave of ice once the match starts, Shoto said. I will try to cover them up to their calves so they are stuck, and you make sure they don't fight us and we get the bomb. Is your ice that strong? Fumikage asked. Yes. Anything you kids want to say before this match? All Might asked. Katsumi was expecting Izuku to say something, but he was silent. She looked at him to see he was trying to sleep where he was standing next to her. My girl Toru is invisible, so she can just sneak up on Todoroki and Takoyami and sneak attack them, Mina stated with gusto. This looks really good for Todoroki and Takoyami since both of their quirks are strong offensive quirks, but Kiwaro and Hagakir's quirks are more about striking when the time is right, Momo stated. Let the final match begin. All Might signaled the start of the last match. Shoto walked up to the building and placed his right arm on the doorway, ice covering the doorway and quickly covering everything inside of the building. Shihai saw the ice too late to not get his legs encased in it. What is this? Toru shivered, having gotten caught in it as well. Ice. Shihai looked to his right and grabbed onto the pillar that was casting a shadow onto him. I can get out. Can you? He merged with the shadow and moved through it, popping his head out to look at Toru's direction. Toru was really regretting not having any proper clothing for her hero suit. She was freezing. I'm stuck here. Try to sneak attack them at something. Got it. Shihai went back completely into the shadow and made his way over to the door, gliding through the shadows on the ceiling. He went into the hallway and heard the tapping of some people walking in the ice and knew it was the hero team. He flew through the shadows fast towards them and saw Shoto and Fumikage walking towards where the bomb was. Shihai saw Dark Shadow out and got an idea. He dropped from the shadow in the ceiling, slamming a kick into Shoto's left shoulder before he quickly grabbed Dark Shadow and took control. He could feel Dark Shadow resisting his presence, so he had to make this quick. He made Dark Shadow swing at Fumikage, who wasn't ready for such an attack and was slammed into the wall. Shoto made a wall of ice that cut off Dark Shadow and Shihai from him and only had a small gap that still connected Dark Shadow to Fumikage. That was unexpected. Fumikage cursed his shoulder. I didn't know if it would really work as well as it did, Shihai admitted as he used Dark Shadow to smash the ice and pursue Shoto, who made even more ice to separate himself from the Shadow user. Fumikage tried to bring Dark Shadow back and felt like he was playing tug-of-war with Shihai for control at that point. How do we put a stop to him? And Dark Shadow, Shoto asked as he made more ice and kept moving backwards. Make some light, Fumikage said, or just wait a few more seconds. Shihai got shot out of Dark Shadow as he finally lost control of the Shadow. Fumikage brought Dark Shadow back into himself completely to not let that happen again. Shoto made ice all around Shihai to get him away from any normal shadows and lock up his arms and legs. I take it your bomb is on this floor. Shihai didn't answer. Shoto didn't wait for one and began to search the rooms, finding it in the 4th room along with a still frozen Toru. Get rid of this ice. Toru was shivering. Once I get the bomb, Shoto said flatly as he walked up to the bomb and put a hand on it. The heroes have secured the bomb. The heroes win. All Might announced the results of the final match. The final 4 had returned to the viewing room. Anything you kids would like to say? All Might asked the 16 others. Todoroki gets MVP, no question, Ijiro said. His ice was strong and took Hagakure out of the match, making it a 2-against-1 for Kiwaro. Kiwaro did out up a good fight, however, Izuku said. He took advantage of their lowered guard and did his best given the circumstances. It was shocking when you took control of Dark Shadow, Fumikage said. I was 70% sure that would even work, Shihai admitted. At least you got to try something. Toru pouted. You all did a good job today, All Might said. Everyone thought through their situation and did their best to make a plan to succeed. Sometimes the team-ups you have will not be in your favor against villains, but if we keep having trials like this and other course I have planned, you will become better at being adaptable to your situation. Plus Ultra and all that, Quill added. All Might pointed at Quill. Indeed, young Quill. It is always best to go plus Ultra. Plus Ultra, half of the class repeated in excitement. It was now the end of their school day. Class 1A had returned to their classroom for final words with Shota after he got notes from All Might. You all did well. No major slips that I should have to lecture you on, Shota said as he glanced over the paper. Ashido and Narashi, both of those two perked up at their name. I suggest trying to bait an enemy you know has your location. I shouldn't expose his ability, but Izuku's sensory ability only sees quirks and how far away they are from him at that point. He could have baited a corner or held an object and he might not have known about it. Izuku nodded during that. Uraraka, please be more careful when you strike at a classmate during training. The Gravity Girl turned red, as did Quill. Asui, good planning. Kirishima and Ida, I suggest working on reaction time to not have a repeat of your match. The two nodded. Siro and Ajiro, don't ever rush a building. You might run into villains as aggressive as those two. The guys nodded while the two girls had smug smirks. Hagakure, I suggest finding a way to make a hero suit that wouldn't compromise your invisibility. Toru nodded in understanding. That's all I have to say for now. You can go back to the dorms. Shota pulled a sleeping bag out of his desk and set it down behind his desk and got in it. Did your dad just get in a sleeping bag? Mina looked between Izuku and Shota, confused about what she just saw. Lucky, Izuku said, wishing he had brought a sleeping bag. So who is up for a spar? Quill said to his few group members. Are you okay for one? Inasa asked. Yes, I will punch whoever tries to comment on that next, Quill said. Actually, hold up, Quill said as he walked away from them. Do we follow? Mashiro asked. Izuku dropped onto the couch. If he wants us, he will say something. Aizawa, I think we should training my fighting style more, Inasa said. Izuku groaned. 10 minutes then, sure. Katsumi and her group were sitting around a table in the garden area. Asui, that was kick-ass what you had planned, Katsumi stated. Call me Tsu, the frog girl said. Better Froggy, I like Froggy a little. Alright Froggy, Katsumi nodded. Your plan was genius though. Thanks, Tsu smiled. Your plan of just jumping the front door was good also, Itsuka said. I wouldn't have expected that. Neither were elbows or tail, Katsumi said. I'm surprised you let Amane take MVP, Itsuka said. I figured you would want it to be an equal standing with Aizawa. Katsumi gave Itsuka a look. What are you implying? Itsuka smirked. You like him? Katsumi turned a light shade of red. No, I do not. If I had to guess based on the first 5 minutes of knowing you both, I would guess that, Tsuyu said. After 3 days, I think it is really obvious. I don't like him like that. Katsumi denied it. She wasn't completely sure if she liked Izuku that way or not and wouldn't just say she does if she doesn't know if she does. If I may, Ibara said. While I don't think we should have relations in high school, you two do seem close. Relations? Katsumi gave the vine-haired girl a look. What do you think, that I want to sleep with him? Wouldn't put it past you, Itsuka joked. I don't like this conversation, the explosive girl responded with a red face. Well, how about we go over the facts so we can tell exactly where you are with him? Itsuka knew that her friend liked Izuku, but clearly Katsumi wasn't aware of how much she does. I guess. Katsumi agreed. Only you though. She looked at Tsuyu and Ibara. Sorry, but I want this as private as possible. It's fine. Tsuyu waved her off. By themselves, Itsuka spoke first. You have a crush on Aizawa, and I think you know you do. Katsumi was silent for a minute. She did feel happier around Izuku and maybe definitely had something. But did he have those back? I think I do. Itsuka clapped. Yeah, I think you two are cute together. I'm leaving. Katsumi tried to walk away, but Itsuka made her hands grow and held Katsumi in her seat. No, we are going to talk about this. You like him and I think you don't know how to process that. The orange-haired girl stated. Katsumi had a sour face. I don't want to talk about my feelings. Yes, you do. Itsuka said. You wouldn't have even come over here if you didn't want to at all. Katsumi hated that Itsuka was right. Fine, I think I do like Izuku. We established that. Itsuka nodded. Do you know how much? If I did, we wouldn't really be having this conversation. Katsumi said. Don't bring sass here. Itsuka said. You like him enough you got jealous when he was partnered with Yaoyorozu instead of you. I was not jealous, Katsumi argued. You were so jealous. Itsuka said. You looked like you wanted to fight her. Because Miss Big Tits was giving Izuku a look over. Katsumi argued. Miss Big Tits. Itsuka repeated the name. Were you jealous because of her hero suit's appearance and what it shows off? Itsuka guessed it was just being partnered with Izuku that was a problem. I was not jealous. She still denied it. Itsuka whacked Katsumi over the head lightly. Yes, you were. You got jealous when a girl was around Aizawa, which was ridiculous because he didn't seem to care at all about her appearance. Just like mine. Katsumi said. Are you worried he doesn't like you physically? Itsuka thought that was kind of ridiculous. Katsumi, you can get it. Plus he made your hero suit and it does flaunt your stuff a little. But I am not feminine. Don't guys like girls who are in dresses and act like housewives? You are like 2 centuries behind on that mindset. He seems to like how tough you are. I don't think he would just up and make a hero suit for you if he didn't like you. Itsuka pointed out. I don't like talking with you. You make too much sense and point out the flaws in my thinking. Katsumi said. Thanks. Itsuka smiled. We can talk about this more later if you want. I guess. Katsumi nodded, feeling a little bit more aware of how much she liked Izuku. Hey, Gravity Girl. Quill said as he found her and Tenya sitting together at a table. Hi, Quill. Ochako made a weak smile, thinking Quill was going to yell at her about her accidental hit to his private. Your form sucks, Quill said bluntly. Ochako blinked. Oh, from that hit I can tell you can actually be strong physically, but you have no form and proper style. Quill stated. Since you hit my crotch you owe me, so you are returning the favor by taking lessons from me on how to actually throw good strikes and hit where you mean to. Ochako looked confused. She hit him where it hurt and he wants to teach her to fight better. You get no option. Quill said. Engines here can join if he wants, but I am focusing on you. Tenya raised an eyebrow. I appreciate the offer, but our 2 styles might differ a lot. It's all the same. Join us at Gym Gamma in 10. Quill walked away. Ochako still looked confused when he left. Quill walked up to the couch that Izuku was sleeping on. Marlowe already taking root on Izuku's back. Inasa and Mashurao were sitting and chatting up until Quill returned. We have a new training partner, Quill stated. Neat. Inasa said. Who is it? Gravity Girl. Quill said. I told her to meet us at Gym Gamma in 10. Aizawa agreed to work with me on my style in 5 more minutes. Inasa said. Gravity Girl can join that. Quill said. Why did you invite the girl who hit your Mashurao? Got cut off by Quill following through on his earlier claim and punching the guy in the shoulder. Thankfully Quill didn't hit him too hard, just enough to shut Mashurao up. Her form sucks and I don't like it when people don't fight correctly. Quill said. I have no problem teaching people how to fight properly. Later, Ochako fell on her rear. That was good, but never leave your leg open. Like that, Quill said as he wiped his brow. Thanks, Ochako said as she got back up. You can take a break. Quill stretched his arms. Your stamina isn't close to mine. Okay. Ochako went to catching her breath and watched Izuku and Mashurao help Inasa go through his style. You guys are definitely strong. Winds needs work, but Tails and Aizawa are good. Quill agreed. He is the one person I think you call by their name. Ochako pointed out. He earned that. Quill said. Bakugo did too, I guess. You like the power couple? Ochako asked. Power couple? Quill asked. That's what Gyro calls them. She thinks they are the strongest here and finds their relationship nice. Ochako explained. They aren't dating. Although I think Aizawa likes Bakugo. Quill shrugged his shoulders. This seems like a drama almost. Ochako joked. Probably. If you care about the drama, ask him. He is kinda blunt and too lazy to lie. Quill said. Tell Tail I want to spar while you are over there. Okay, Ochako said as she figured she had to go now. She waved to get Mashurao's attention. What's up? Mashurao stopped what he was doing. Quill said he wants a spar. Ochako answered. Mashurao nodded. As long as he doesn't cut me I am good. He left to spar with Quill. Hello Uraraka, Inasa smiled. Hello Urashi. Ochako enjoyed his enthusiasm he always had. Aizawa, I have a question. Izuku opened his eyes, having closed them for a few minutes. What is it? Do you like Bakugo? Like her, as in Izuku knew what she meant but wanted to make sure. Sorry, I just was interested since you both seem close. I mean like you want to date her. Ochako was nervous asking him that. She barely knew him and was asking him something really personal. Izuku only spent a second to think about it, having already thought about it a few times already. I do like Katsumi like that. She is a great person. Why don't you tell her? Inasa joined in. Because we are training to be heroes right now and I don't think she is on the same page as me. I'm still not sure what page I am on really. Izuku answered. When it happens it will happen. Ochako wanted to say that sounded lazy, but then again Katsumi did have a nickname for Izuku based on that thing. Izuku was a lot. Let's just practice your form again, Izuku said to Inasa. He looked at Ochako. When I completely know I might do something. Azula looked at the envelope in her room. All she had to do was out the paper in there and take it to the spot in order for her master to receive it. However, something was stopping her from just closing the damn thing. Why should she care about these other people when no one cared about her? When she had problems, she should just put it in the envelope and let the world realize the lies they were built on. Azula let out a breath as she slipped the class schedule into the envelope and began to make her way to the spot outside of UA. Hey, Katsumi kept poking Izuku's face over and over again, the boy either being a good actor at sleeping, ignoring her, or genuinely asleep. After a while of the poking, she got annoyed. Izuku, wake thee up. Marlo reacted before Izuku, giving an annoyed look at being woken up. I am awake, Izuku grumbled without opening his eyes. I can't sleep with you poking my face. Good, wake all the way up. You're making breakfast today, Katsumi stated. I don't remember agreeing to this, Izuku said. You ate the food I made yesterday. That made you agree. Doesn't count if you never let me know, Izuku replied. Well, you know now, so make me breakfast. Katsumi started poking his face again. Izuku get a slightly annoyed look on his face before he groaned and opened his eyes. Fine, yeah, hurry up, I'm hungry. Katsumi patted his face before leaving his room. Izuku sat in bed for a minute, letting himself get used to the light, sighing before he got up to prepare for the day. Everyone smelled something spicy as they began to filter into the comments. Who's making breakfast today? Inasa asked. Not for you, Izuku yawned from the kitchen. I'm making myself and the annoying one breakfast. Katsumi gave a grin. I'm the annoying one. I didn't even know you could cook, Quill stated as he went past Izuku to grab his own food. He's pretty good, Katsumi said. So do we have another hero course class today? Mina asked as she sat down at a table. I don't think so, Hanta answered. I think All Might said that it is every other day because he swaps between us and 1B. You think we might do a joint training class with 1B? Toru asked. Half of our class is powerful quirks, Quill said. We'd win a class versus class thing. Only half of our class, Hunter repeated. You think you are on the powerful half, don't you? Quill gave the elbow quirk guy a look. My quirk is only as good as it is because I am a close combat expert. Fight me at long range and I am useless. So who is powerful in your eyes? Itsuka asked as she made cereal. Based on quirks alone, it is Aizawa, Bakugo, Creation Chick, Batty, Icy, Wind Boy, Ashido, Bird, Vines, and Space Girl. Bird Fumikage repeated what he assumed was his nickname. You're a 2-for-1 fighter, Quill said. Don't call me Batty, Azula said from her spot farther away from the group. She liked that she was considered to have a powerful quirk, but the nickname was annoying. Don't have bat wings then, he replied. Genuinely surprised you didn't out yourself on a list of powerful people in our class, Itsuka stated. I said quirks alone, Quill replied. If it's just fighting skill and I easily take one of the top spots. Quirks and fighting skill I am still high, unless you get hit in the nats. Hunter referred to the incident the day before. Quill gained a mad look. Shut the up, he said dryly. Don't start fighting this early in the morning. Momo sighed. Here's your food, Izuku said as he gave Katsumi a plate of food. Thank you. Katsumi gave him a smile. You better let me sleep tomorrow, Izuku replied. Doubt it. Katsumi smirked between bites. Izuku sighed. I figured. They soon arrived at their classroom and got seated, waiting for Shota to arrive. Think we would have a battle trials too, guys? Inasa asked. If we do, then we should get to pick teams that time, Hanta stated. Maybe that's what the MVPs were for, Tenya suggested. There's only 5 of us, Suyu pointed out. Maybe it's teams of 4. Mina shrugged. That makes one team be left out, Fumikage stated. Well, this isn't definite, Hanta pointed out. For all we know, MVPs aren't team selectors, or if we even have a battle trials too. If we did, however, I would guess MVPs do pick teams, Anjiro said. Shota walked into the classroom at that point, still looking tired. Today we have something to do before classes. Another test? Mina asked in fear. No, it has been a few days, so you all should know each other well enough by now, You are going to pick a class representative. Shota stated, I will let you guys vote however you want. Just tell me when you make your decision. With that, Shota got in his sleeping bag. Does your dad carry that everywhere? Toru asked Izuku. He's a smart man. Izuku nodded, thinking he should get his own. How do we do this? Shihai asked. Let's all just vote on it. Whoever has the most votes is class rep and second most is class vice rep. Tenya offered. The voting system should have a rule though. Itsuka said. No one should be able to vote for themselves. As much as we all want to be class rep, we have to be able to think who is the most qualified. Hands is right. Quill said. People will just kiss their own ass. I'm surprised you're for it. Hanta said. Figured you would vote for yourself. I was planning on voting for someone else anyways. Quill stated. Let's all just write down the name of who we pick and have someone count them out. Katsumi said. That is agreeable. Momo said. Does everyone find these terms all right? Everyone agreed and pulled out a paper to vote for who they thought would be the best class rep. Izuku voted for Katsumi since she had good leadership quality. Katsumi voted for Izuku because she knew he was a smart person who was responsible when he wasn't lazy. Quill voted for Izuku as well because Izuku out of everyone was a good head to follow. Azula took a second to vote. Not knowing that many of the people she voted on someone she had come to respecting a little, Katsumi. Soon everyone had their vote passed to the front and Tenya had volunteered to count them, marking the board for every vote someone got. The votes are Quill for 1, Kendo with 1, me with 2, Asui with 2, Yaoyorozu with 3, Bakugo with 5 and Aizawa with 6. Tenya announced, Hey, we're leading the class. Katsumi turned to Izuku and smiled, very happy with the outcome. I quit, Izuku stated, and half the class looked shocked and the other half were not surprised at all. You can't quit, Katsumi huffed. Izuku, you are not quitting. Accept your election. Shota spoke. I don't think your mother would like to hear that you quit for no other reason than being lazy. But, Dad, Izuku wanted to argue. No arguing. You're a class rep now. Shota found it a little funny but he hid the smile. Izuku groaned as he put his head against his desk. He pulled the mom card. Mina raised an eyebrow. Mrs. Aizawa is a tough woman, Katsuki stated, Shota nodding in agreement. Izuku, stop groaning and be a good leader. Was the response Izuku gave. You can quit if you beat me in a spar. Katsumi offered. I'll take your spot and you'll take mine. I'm keeping my spot. Izuku said. I just don't like it. That's a great attitude. Quill commented. At lunch the whole class had taken 2 tables with 10 of them at each. How much meat do you eat in a day? Ibara looked at Quill who had a large plate of beef. I take every chance I can to eat. You never know when you can eat again. Quill said. How come half of what you say makes it seem like you had a rough childhood? Hanta asked. Quill made an irritated expression. Stop talking. Dude, relax. I didn't mean anything like that. Hanta said. I'm sorry. I just don't want to talk about that. Quill apologized. Wait, so he was right? Inessa asked. Quill looked a little annoyed again. I am not talking about it. He went to eating silently. Azula and half the class gave Quill a look of curiosity, wondering what happened to him. The winged girl wondered if it was like what happened to her. Itsuka decided to make everyone focus on something different. So Bakugo, you'll be doing most of the work between you two, aren't you? She motioned to the blonde and the green-haired teen next to her. I better not. Katsumi gave a glance to Izuku, who was silently eating as well. You decided to keep the job, so you gotta do something. I didn't even imply yet that I would do nothing as leader. Izuku said. Your NNN earlier suggested it. Katsumi stated. Who even voted for me? I've shown a lack of effort that wouldn't fit a leader. Izuku said. You've shown an unwillingness to put up effort, but you also still put in effort and are intelligent. Momo said. That's why I voted for you. Same here. Tenya agreed. I thought it would be funny to see you lead us in between naps. Katsumi admitted. You're petty for that. Izuku said. I used my vote with an actual reason. Who did you vote for? Katsumi asked. No. Izuku went back to eating. Don't give me a no, tell me who you voted for. Katsumi huffed. Izuku smirked when he realized he now has something to annoy her with. No. Katsumi narrowed her eyes. I'll fight you. I'd like to see a fight between you two. Itsuka said. You both are really good with your abilities. We spar all the time. Izuku said. So you two should know each other's fighting style well. Inessa said. It would be a very interesting match. That decides it. Katsumi said. We're fighting after school. First one to give up loses. Izuku wondered how his way of messing with Katsumi backfired so fast. Without tools, he added, so that they won't do too much damage to each other. I accept those terms. Katsumi nodded. An alarm suddenly went off, causing some of the students to flip out. What's that alarm for? Quill asked. That's the alarm for an intruder. A upperclassman panicked. The school is being attacked, another student shouted. A majority of the students were rushing to the exit, pushing each other out of the way, the exit becoming a battle to get through. So we should start leaving too, right? Hanta said as he got up. Look at the exit. Katsumi pointed behind her. You want to go through that? Everyone needs to calm down. Momo stated. Azula was wondering why the school was being invaded, because it couldn't be her master. A person shoved past Quill who wasn't expecting it and he fell into Azula. Holding her with one arm so she didn't fall over, he glared in the direction of the person. Watch where you are going, face. Izuku saw a flash outside and looked out the window. It's the press. Just reporters who broke in. So we should get these us to calm down. Katsumi said. I got it. Izuku put a hand on his throat and used a shout, releasing a loud sound that got everyone in the cafeteria to look in his direction. You need to all stop. Leave in an orderly fashion. Yeah, you heads, Katsumi added. This is UA. No time to act like little E's. Could have used better language. Ibara commented. It's the press at the gate who broke in. Izuku spoke up, his throat being sore from the shout. Even if it were a villain attack, we would outnumber them and are all at a hero school. Acting like a bunch of E's is disrespectful to UA. Katsumi added. Everyone leave in an orderly fashion now. Izuku said in a tone that suggested he wasn't taking any disagreements to what was said. People began to leave with order this time. You two certainly can get attention. Inasa commented. It was badass how calm you were, Aizawa. Mina said. Bakugo, you were also badass. PSSH, I know I am. Katsumi replied. Let's go back to class now then. Hanta began to walk off. Don't fall over again. Azula said to Quill. I was pushed into you. Quill said. You were the one who would have fallen over if I didn't grab you. I didn't need help. Azula stated. With how skinny you are, I doubt that. Quill replied. Just say thanks for once and not be all the time. Azula knitted her brow. She stopped herself from continuing. Quill was walking away anyways. She grabbed her bag that still had the envelope in it and began to follow the group back to class. Shota looked at the gate along with Hisashi and Nezu. The front gate to UA had been destroyed somehow, pieces of it lying on the ground. The press had gotten in through it and were being annoying about getting information on All Might since they discovered he had taken a teaching job at UA. It is curious how the reporters managed to do this, Hisashi said as it picked up a piece of the gate. Was it a quirk? Shota narrowed his eyes at the piece Hisashi was holding. This was a powerful quirk. I doubt a quirk like this would just now be getting discovered if a reporter had it. Are you suggesting what I think you are, Aizawa? Nezu asked. On the same page as Shota. A villain did this. If I am correct, the level of the alarm that was triggered meant a person got into the building. None of the reporters got that far. Sekijiro, who had gotten closer as Shota was speaking, took that moment to speak himself. We have found no one in the main building and we have searched the dorms as well. Whoever broke in is gone. What could they have been after? Shota asked. If I may, Nezu began. This was either a message telling us that something is coming, or the person got in, got what they wanted, and got out before we could catch them. Shota knitted his brow, wondering what could have been taken. Soon the teachers all returned to their classes to make sure everyone was accounted for. Shota was glad to see his kids were all in their seats, even if the seats were moved, and Quill had started playing cards with Hanta, Inasa, Mina and Ijiro. Put the cards away for now, Shota said. We'll have the rest of classes continue now. Was the situation taken care of? Izuku asked, thinking it had to be more than just nosy reporters. Everything is being checked right now, Shota stated. You all are okay. Classes have just ended and everyone had just left the main building. Now we fight, Katsumi said as she grabbed Izuku's arm and started to drag him towards one of the training buildings. Can't even put my bag back in the dorms? Izuku asked as he kept pace with the blonde. You can put it down at the place we are fighting, Katsumi replied. Quill turned and started following them, as did half of the class because it was a fight they would actually like to see. In the gym, Katsumi quickly took off her socks and shoes while Izuku just stood there. All right, remember, first one of us to get the other to give up. So every other time, Izuku asked. And if I win, I am getting the answer of who you voted for, Katsumi said. All right. Izuku knew this spar would be quick because he had a master plan. Let's see some ass kicking, Quill said from a wall he was leaning on. All right, begin, Katsumi said as she blasted forward at Izuku. Izuku erased her quirk and caught the punch she had aimed at him. I quit, he said before he released her quirk and began to walk away. Katsumi looked really confused. What? No, you have to. I voted for you. Izuku cut her off. Obvious choice for leader when you're passionate about what you do. He grabbed his bag and left. That was the most anticlimactic fight, Quill stated, annoyed that he didn't get to see a good fight. It's funny and kind of expected from him, really. Hanta laughed. Katsumi's face had turned red after Izuku said he voted for her. He really thought she was the best person in class. That thought made her happy. Well, since I'm here, I'm training, Quill said. I'll join you, Mashirao said. Me too, Inasa said as well. Achako joined them quietly. Izuku walked up to Katsumi. You're blushing a little hard. No, I am not, Katsumi argued, even thought she could feel the blush that was obviously there. You guys interacting is so cute, Izuku commented. Shut up, no we're not. Katsumi grabbed her stuff and walked away to the dorms. Izuku smiled as she followed Katsumi back. Azula frowned as she felt the envelope in her bag. She didn't know why she stopped herself yesterday from just giving it to her master. She now has another worry because it looked like other people were aiming their sights at UA right now besides them. Katsumi didn't want to seek Izuku out immediately when she got back to the dorms, so she stayed in the commons, where Itsuka, Tsuyu and Ibara were with her and chatting over something she wasn't really listening to while she was busy thinking of how she reacted to what Izuku said at the gym. Does she really have to get that flustered over anything when it looks like Izuku might be interested in her? She would have to be an idiot at that point to say she didn't like Izuku at all when she keeps reacting like that to him. Itsuka gave Katsumi a look. She's not even listening. If I had to guess, she is thinking about Aizawa. Tsuyu stated. Should we get her attention? Ibara asked. Or we could continue letting her fantasize about Aizawa. Itsuka said. We shouldn't let any inappropriate thoughts fill her head. Ibara frowned. I didn't mean like that. Itsuka responded. Hey Bakugo. She snapped her fingers in front of the blonde's face. Katsumi broke from her thoughts. What? We were talking about proposing a match between us four versus Aizawa's group. Tsuyu said. Like the battle trials but more people. That sounds like a plan. Katsumi nodded. Do we have a time for it? Since they are off training, we could ask them about doing it this weekend. Itsuka said. Why not tomorrow night? Katsumi asked. You really weren't paying attention. Itsuka laughed. I'm not going to be here tomorrow night because I want to visit my siblings and parents. Tsuyu said. We could do it Friday night. Itsuka mentioned. The weekend was decided on earlier because we figured Friday is a night of fun and such. When are we asking them? Katsumi asked. I dunno, whenever we see them. The redhead replied. Izuku lifted his head over the bar for the 20th time, finishing his set of pull-ups. He dropped from the bar and grabbed his water before he sat on the ground. He was working out while trying how to figure out where he was with Katsumi. He obviously liked her and he was confident she liked him back. He just didn't know how exactly to move forward when her reaction to everything was to get irritated with him or get flustered and leave. Maybe he really should just wait until she sorts out her feelings, even if he just wanted to say something at that point. Something about her beautiful crimson eyes, or that smile she had when she was happy. Izuku for once didn't want to be lazy about something, but it looked like he had no choice at the moment. Later, Quill and the others returned from training. That was an excellent day, Inessa said as they all sat at a table together and cooled off. Definitely, Quill nodded. Tomorrow night you should work on your win-style shit. I'm looking forward to it. Inessa smiled. Hey fellas, Itsuka said as she approached them. Want to have a battle trial this weekend? Mashiro raised an eyebrow. Battle trial? MMHMM. Itsuka nodded. Me, Katsumi, Sue and Ibara against your group. Same rules and situation as the actual battle trials? Quill asked. Yep. Itsuka nodded again. I'm definitely in. Quill stated. It sounds fun. Inessa agreed. I'm in too. Mashiro nodded. Have you already told Aizawa? Inessa asked. We haven't seen him yet. Itsuka said. Neither have we. I figured he was making kissing faces at Bakugo somewhere. Quill replied as he opened his water. Don't make jokes. Itsuka made a face at him. They're cute together. Didn't say anything like what you are implying. Quill responded. They are cute together. Achako agreed. Does anyone know where they are? Inessa asked. Katsumi went to the gym to work out for the afternoon. Itsuka answered. Sue went with her as a partner and I haven't seen Izuku either. The door to the commons opened at that moment, and it was a coincidence as Izuku was the person to enter. Hello. Izuku greeted them as he returned. Hey, you're back. Mashiro said. Trained on your own? Inessa asked. Had some stuff to think about. Izuku said. I'm done thinking for now. Let's play cards. See you, class rep. Achako waved as she went up the stairs. See you guys also. Itsuka went for her room. Soon it was just Jizuku, Quill, Mashiro and Inessa in the commons, as far as they knew. Azula was also in the commons, but around a corner where she was too busy looking at the envelope she still couldn't deliver. After a few minutes of cards, Izuku looked at Quill. Did you have a rough childhood? Izuku asked quietly. Even though the three guys plus Azula heard him, Quill wasn't as upset that Izuku asked. He figured the tired Telekinetic was his closest friend so he could give him something. As an understatement, yes. If you ever want to talk about it, we are here. Izuku shuffled the cards. It will make you pity me and then make you tell a teacher so no. Quill shook his head. I have to do this on my own. He was understating a large part of it. If they really knew what happened and his goal, then a teacher would definitely be involved to stop him. Everyone wondered what the redhead meant when he said that. Did he have some dark secret? I'm not a villain, relax guys, Quill said as he saw the expressions of his friends. He wasn't a villain, but his main goal that drove his life was anything but heroic. It would just make you think I may need therapy. That's what I was thinking, Mashiro admitted. Let's get back to our cards, Quill said as Izuku began to pass cards around. Azula's gaze was at the wall that Quill was on the other side of, wondering if he had a similar past to her. The next morning came soon and everyone had gotten ready for classes. So we should have a heroics class again today, right? Mina asked as they ate breakfast, which Inessa had made this morning as he said he would like to. We should, as far as I know, Ijiro said. Did All Might say anything about every other day? It would make sense if he swapped between us and 1B every day. We are his classes. Itsuka nodded. We could just ask Aizawa-sensei when we get to class. Toru said. That works. The pink girl nodded. In the classroom they found Shota to be awake and at his desk, going over a paper. Aizawa-sensei. Tenya was the one to speak. Do we have another heroics class today? You do not. All Might is in Tokyo today for personal reasons. He will be back tomorrow for a class with you guys he said was special. Shota answered. This was actually on the paper he had been looking at. A confidential paper of information that a few of the staff at UA were aware of when it came to All Might. No special classes today. Instead, Midnight has a class for you all. Yeah, we already have her modern hero art history every day, Mina said with a confused look. It probably means she has a slightly different class today, Pinky. Katsumi stated. I did. Shota nodded. What is it? Hanta asked. Just wait. Shota sighed. You kids ask too many questions. We only asked 2. Toru said. That's a lot. Izuku agreed with his dad. It was now time for their class with Midnight, who was at the front of the room. Alright kiddies, today we are talking about something that should be made known to all of you. Their dark-haired teacher smiled. We are talking about goals and dreams today. Boo, Mina replied. She enjoyed Midnight's class the most. Are we gonna sit in a circle and start talking about our life dreams now? Hanta asked with a smile. Now we are, Nimuri replied. Everyone move your desks out of the way and position your chairs in a circle. You had to ask. Kyoka gave the tape Quirk kid a dry look. Get to it, kid, as Nimuri clapped her hands with a smile. The kids all got up and moved their desks and chairs exactly how their teacher asked. Once everyone was seated, Nimuri, who had not joined the circle but was sitting in her desk, spoke. Everyone who goes into hero work has different dreams and goals. Even if you have a goal like become a rich person through this work, it doesn't discredit the fact that you are still working a job that is about helping protect other people. It is always good to keep any goals right there in the front of your mind to guide you. Sometimes you will encounter a challenge that pushes you, and holding on to that goal can help you push back. Working with other people means you will both be working together towards your goals as a team, and so today we should go around and say at least on goal or even your biggest dream that has guided you here so far. Umi pick me. Mina put her hand up. Okay, Ashido. The dark-haired teacher liked the girl's enthusiasm. What is a goal you have? To be an excellent hero and also to be a top-notch dancer. That's great. Nimuri gave a smile. She indicated to the girl who was sitting on the pink girl's right side. Azula. You next, dearie. Azula only said one word. Enlightenment. It wasn't enlightenment for her, but the world, to understand what kind of corrupt society that has been made out of professional heroes. Mysterious. Nimuri commented as she looked at the person in Azula's right side. Katsumi. How about you, Dynamite? Katsumi gave a grin. Kick villain ass and be a strong hero. Like the passion. How about you, lazy boy? Nimuri looked at her godson, who was trying to take a nap again. Something generic. Izuku replied with a yawn. Katsumi smacked Izuku's shoulder. That is not your dream, and you know it. Say your actual dream or I will. Izuku opened his eyes and gave his blonde crush an irritated look. Why did she always have to hit him if you want to by all means? Katsumi smirked. Zuzu's dream is to be a hero like his daddy. She repeated it the way Nimuri had said it to her a long time ago. The tired boy groaned inwardly at the way that was phrased. Don't call me Zuzu. What's wrong with Zuzu? I thought you liked Zuzu. Katsumi kept saying the name Izuku's mother and godmother would call him. I don't sue me. Izuku called her the name Mitsuki would sometimes. Katsumi didn't reply, but her face turned red and she faced the inside of the circle of chairs and stopped messing with Izuku. She didn't mind the name, but something about Izuku calling her a nickname like that got her flustered. As much as Nimuri enjoyed the interaction of her favorite pair of kids, she turned to the next kid, Inasa. How about you, Yurashi? What is a dream or goal you have? I wish to be an excellent hero that will always have passion for what he does, Inasa shouted enthusiastically. Dude, not so loud. Mashurao next to him chuckled while holding his ears. Inasa looked embarrassed for all of a millisecond. I'm sorry, I got excited. Never apologize for passion. If you have even a little passion for anything, you shouldn't apologize about it. Nimuri said. Stick to your passion and never let it die out. Yes, ma'am. Inasa was half expected to salute, but he didn't. Excellent. How about you, Ajiro? Nimuri asked the tailed student. I want to be a master of martial arts, and when the time comes, teach a new generation what I have learned. I also wish to make a new form of martial arts. The tailed student said. That's a tall order, but you seem like you have it under control. Nimuri gave a smile. How about you, Red? She looked to Quill. Everyone expected him to say something about finding that one great fight or to be the best fighter. Instead, he quietly said one word. Justice. Justice, Nimuri repeated. I want justice, Quill repeated while looking at the floor. It was confusing to see the second most hot-headed and aggressive person of their class, next to Azula, speak so quietly and firmly. This, along with what he said the night before, made the few who he talked to the night prior wonder what exactly did happen to Quill. It was the end of the school day now and everyone was back at the commons. "Hey Quill, where are you going?" Inasa asked as he saw Quill fix his jacket and open the door. "It's Thursday. I have a thing," Quill answered as he left. "I'll be back before curfew." "What kind of thing? He doesn't have health issues, does he?" Hanta asked. "No, he said the other day that he doesn't have any during a spar." Mashiro shook his head. "Oh well, it's his business," Izuku replied. "Training in 10. Yep." Mashiro nodded. "I think today we should work on Inasa's wind fighting form. And Uraraka's open palm fighting," Izuku added. Azula looked at the door and got up to leave, not saying a word, and no one questioned her. She was going to finally send the envelope to her master. Azula cursed herself as she walked past the spot she was supposed to leave the envelope, a tree right outside of the edge of UA's property that has a hole the envelope could fit in. She was going to put it in when a nagging part of her told her to follow Quill, having seen him walking off of campus in a similar route. She didn't know why the nagging feeling was there. Why should she care what one of the others does with their free time? She had went with the feeling, ditching the plan to leave the envelope in the spot again, and followed her classmate. She followed him as he went to a flower shop and bought a single lilac flower and a single rose, and was wondering why he had taken a train that was leaving Musutafu. He was saying how he would be back before curfew, so why would he buy 2 flowers and leave the city? Was he meeting family or possibly a girlfriend? He never said anything about his past to anyone that could hint to that, so she wasn't sure. Quill left on the first train stop outside of Musutafu. The train stop was essentially in the middle of nowhere, with a few decently sized towns in the area surrounding the train station. It wasn't a complete random stop. The town the train station was in wasn't his stop, however, and he walked out of the town on a dirt path that led into a forest. Azula was really questioning where he was going after a while of walking when she saw a house start to appear in the distance. The house looked abandoned and partially destroyed, like no one had been there in years. Quill didn't go to the house, but instead to 2 mounds of dirt besides it with rocks that looked like someone had crudely carved words into them. Azula realized they were supposed to be graves and watched as Quill placed the rose on the bigger grave. "I haven't found him yet," Azula heard Quill say from her spot by the trees. "Who hasn't he found yet? I promise that I will, and make him face justice for what he did." The red-headed boy placed the lilac on the smaller grave gently. "I'm at UA now, so hopefully the search might go quicker. The pro heroes there should know something about him, and when I think I am strong enough, I will get them to tell me anything they can." Was Quill's whole reason for getting into UA. Just for the ability to find someone? Azula frowned in confusion. What exactly happened, and who were the people in the graves? Were they his family? Quill didn't move for a minute, and Azula heard something. It sounded like Quill was crying. The sounds of who she thought was the toughest person in class crying bothered her to her core. She had an urge to go comfort him, but she resisted it. For one, she shouldn't be there, and that would make him mad for sure. And 2, she didn't know how to exactly comfort someone. Quill continued to cry for a few more minutes before he wiped his eyes on his sleeve. Turning to leave, he stopped. "I promise that he will pay," he said to the wind as he began to walk away back the way he came. Azula stayed behind a tree and let Quill go past her. She decided to stay Andreas the graves to at least get a little more checking information on this situation. Going to the graves, he read the names. They were carved crudely into the large rocks like a child did it. The grave with the rose said Hinata Akamoto, and the smaller grave with the lilac said Hanabi Akamoto. They were related. Were these Quill's family? Azula kept her frown and looked at the building. Maybe answers were in there. She went to the building and opened the door that looked like it had been broken off of its hinges and poorly put back on. Everything inside was covered in thick dust, making Azula think that Quill never came in here, or at least for a long time. Azula found a photo frame and picked it up. It had a picture of 3 people, a woman who was, by Azula's opinion, really beautiful, and had rose-colored long hair and the kindest smile on her face. Her blue eyes, however, looked like they were hiding pain behind them. The woman had 2 kids on her lap. A boy with a head of spiky red hair and coal-black eyes with a big smile was holding a smaller child in his own lap. Azula realized that the boy was Quill when he must have been 7 or 8 by the look of it. It was odd to see Quill in any way have such a large smile and looking happy, as all he was for the most part was angry or looked like he was angry. He was holding a girl who was around 6 or 5 who had lilac-colored hair, and the most blue eyes of the 3, looking like pools of water. The 3 looked really happy. Azula opened the frames and held the picture to look to see if anything was written on the back. On the back it said Kurota 7 and Hanabi 5. Was Quill's real name Kurota? She looked farther in the building and gasped when she saw that was splattered all over the place, like someone was killed there long ago. Azula didn't want to think it, but the most likely explanation was that Quill's mother and sister were killed and Quill buried them himself. That would explain why the graves looked like a child did them. She didn't understand everything completely but had to leave to get back to the dorms, keeping the photo unknowingly as she unconsciously put it in her pocket. Quill made his last stop before he went back to the dorms. Buying a cigarette off of an adult he always did on Thursdays, he went to the cemetery in town and visited the last person he always would, stopping in front of the grave that read Daichayakihide. Using the lighter that was a gift to him years ago, he lit the cigarette and took a puff. I know you said to not waste things, but I wasn't one for smoking, Quill said to the grave as he placed the cigarette on the headstone. Never knew why you liked these things. People told you they would give you cancer and kill you. Quill gave a weak laugh. You at least didn't get killed by them. Quill's eyes started to well up. I'm going to find him. For you, for Mom, for Hanabi, I'm going to find him and I am going to kill him. You know you two would be dangerous as a team, Izuku asked Inasa. And Ochako with a breath. Really, Ochako asked. Yeah, Mashiro nodded. I'm assuming Aizawa, us talking about your quirks together in a fight would be devastating. Izuku nodded as well. You can make things weightless while Inasa can make them travel through the air that much fast before you just drop the gravity back in the object, and that impact would cause damage on whatever it hits. That's a great idea for a team-up move, Inasa stated. We should all have team-up moves. Let's finish your fighting style before we work on team-up moves. Mashiro sighed. Inasa was a good friend at this point to the tailed boy, but he had too much enthusiasm to learn more instead of finishing what he was on. Right, Inasa chuckled. Let's do that. I'm done for now. Izuku yawned. I want food. He began to walk for the door to the training room. We can pick up tomorrow, Inasa, don't worry. Mashiro replied. Will Quill join us tomorrow, Ochako asked. He didn't say anything about not joining, Inasa stated. Yeah, but he also didn't say anything about today either. He just left after class, Mashiro pointed out. Where did he go, Ochako asked. He didn't say, Izuku answered. If he wants to tell us, he will. It's personal business until then. It was now dinner in the dorms and everyone was at the tables except for Quill. Azula had returned minutes earlier. Is Quill still not back, Tenya asked. He said before curfew. Hanta shrugged. He has an hour. He is fine so far, Izuku said as he drank some water. A few minutes later the redhead came back, everyone turning when they heard the door to the building open. Hey, he's back, Katsumi said. We all got pizza again. Quill, who had made sure to show no signs that he had cried earlier, turned to them. Oh, neat. What were you doing, Hanta asked. You left without a word. None of your business, Quill responded with a slightly dirty look. What's the options for pizza? We have just cheese, 1 left with pepperoni and 2 left with sausage. Itsuka answered. I'll take sausage, Quill replied as he sat down and was past the box so he could get his own slices. Azula gave Quill a sad look, knowing that he went through pain like her and she couldn't even bring it up since she shouldn't have been following him there to what must have been his childhood home. Tomorrow is Friday, guys, and Aizawa-sensei said All Might had a special class plan. Mina said, I bet tomorrow is going to be amazing. It'll be unforgettable. Toru half joked. They didn't know how right they were that it would be unforgettable. Katsumi was confused. She had planned on waking up Izuku to bother him into making her breakfast again, but he wasn't in his room. Neither was Marlo. Wandering downstairs, she found him actually already cooking, Izuku having finished as she got close. Hey, Izuku yawned as he began to put the curry in a bowl. I figured I would beat you to the punch and wake myself up. Katsumi smiled as she took the curry. Thanks, maybe you aren't as much of a lazy ass anymore. Doubt that. I still haven't gotten Marlo his breakfast, Izuku replied. The blonde looked over to see the orange cat looking annoyed on the counter with a can of tuna next to him unopened. You couldn't just open the can for him. I'm too lazy to grab it, Izuku replied as the can opened suddenly popped open. Him using his telekinetic energy to open it. Oh, but you'll waste mental energy this early in the morning, the explosive girl raised an eyebrow. Bite me, Izuku replied as he grabbed his own breakfast, much more mild curry than the spicy batch he made for Katsumi. Why would I put my mouth near you, Katsumi responded. Don't have to take it like that, Izuku replied, having a small frown while trying to figure out what to say. It was just them and Marlo in the commons at that point, so he could at least try say something. He couldn't wait much longer to tell her anything about how he feels. Hey, what's cracking, guys? Hanta asked as he slid down the stairs, Ijiro coming down next to him. Izuku's frown got slightly bigger at the loss of privacy with Katsumi. Hey, elbows, Redhead 2, Katsumi replied. Redhead 2, Ijiro replied. Why number 2? Hedgehog is cooler, the blonde replied as more people came downstairs. How is Quill cooler than me exactly? Ijiro asked, only partially offended. Isn't it cooler to be nicer to people? You sound like a kindergarten teacher, Katsumi said. He has toughness to him. Kirishima's quirk is to literally make himself tough, Hanta pointed out. But Quill has sharp blades of hair that make you not want to get near him, is fast for someone his size, has that whole mysterious background of his and is good at cards, Katsumi stated. He's just cooler to me than you. A mysterious background is cool, Hanta asked. I think it's kind of annoying, especially when he makes it seem like it sucks but doesn't say anything about it and just gets mad at anyone mentioning it. If he doesn't say anything about it, you shouldn't either, Izuku spoke up. It's his business, and if I were him I would get mad about people constantly asking about it. What's the conversation about? Itsuka asked as she came downstairs. Who's cooler? Hanta asked. Kirishima or Quill? Itsuka took a second to answer. Quill. I'm saying Kirishima. Hanta defended his friend. Quill is teaching some of us how to fight and help us develop a style. And that is pretty cool, Ochako added, having came down the stairs a second after Itsuka. Kirishima can tank hits from people with his quirk, Kyoka said. Who would you rather hit with their quirk active? Toru asked. Cut off a finger or break a finger, Shihai pointed out. Azula was at a corner table and she wasn't involved in the discussion, but her answer was Quill, admiring how he still kept going after the tragedy she discovered the day prior. At that moment Quill walked down the stairs, brushing his thick red arm hair. Hey Quill, want to add to our discussion? Katsumi asked. Quill didn't look up from his brushing as he made his way into the kitchen, only stopping his brushing to grab food. What's the discussion? We're discussing which redhead in the class is the coolest, Katsumi answered. I don't care, Quill responded as he started to eat a leftover slice of the pizza from the night before. He wins solely on that now. The explosive blonde had a victorious grin. You care about the discussion of your coolness and he doesn't. Why does this matter exactly? Momo asked. I called Redhead too by his nickname and he doesn't like it, Katsumi answered. Just call me Redhead if you're gonna call him Hedgehog, Anjiro stated. I guess, but he still is number one redhead to me. Katsumi shrugged. Anjiro, your hair is black, Mina pointed out. You dye your hair. So we have been having this discussion of the coolest redhead and you aren't even a real redhead, Kyoka asked. I dye it because it's like my idol who is a redhead, the Crimson Riot, Anjiro explained. Okay, well that is cool because Crimson Riot is badass, Katsumi stated. Quill, do you have an idol you take after? Sure, Quill replied half-heartedly, not really paying attention. The explosive girl gained a flat expression at the answer and surprisingly didn't pursue a legit answer. Anyone want to guess what we are doing with All Might today? Mina asked. It's apparently a special class, so I'm hyped, Aijiro grinned. It might be the thing that involves the MVPs from the battle trials, Itsuka added. We won't know until we get there, so why waste time talking about something like this? Izuku asked. Katsumi lightly smacked Izuku on his forehead. Don't be a buzzkill. Izuku responded by giving her an annoyed look. No matter what it is, I am excited, Inasa exclaimed. They entered their classroom to find Shota, who was standing behind his desk. Don't bother sitting down. Set down your stuff at your desk, but take your cases. Get in your hero suits and meet me outside the entrance to the main building, Shota said as he pressed the button to open the wall and reveal their cases. Your class with All Might is in the morning and you'll have your regular classes after. Shota left the room. Well, all right, Aijiro flashed a grin. We're getting right to it. Everyone hurry, Katsumi ordered. I want to start this class. Everyone grabbed their case and went to change. Waiting outside the building in their hero suits, Inasa, Aijiro, Mina and Hanta were all practically vibrating with excitement. Ooh, I can't wait anymore, Mina said. This looks like it will be really fun. We're starting the day with it too. Hanta had a large smile. Everything is gonna be boring afterwards, but who cares? Izuku was checking his gauntlet a bit away from the group when Katsumi approached him. Hey Izuku, can we talk? Katsumi asked. She had decided right after breakfast that she didn't know what she was doing when it came to emotions and planned to just talk with Izuku through her feelings with him. The emerald-haired teen nodded. What is it? He was curious about why she looked nervous. Nervousness wasn't something she normally had and it didn't suit her. I wanted to. Katsumi got cut off as a bus approached the class and parked in front of them, honked, and the door opened to reveal Shota driving it. She made a frown because she just lost her moment. Everyone get in, Shota said. Where we are going is on the far edge of campus. This is making it so much more suspenseful, Mashiro stated as they all boarded the bus. The bus started to drive once Shota made sure they were all seated. Man, I am getting nervous about this special class, Hanta stated. Why don't we all talk about something to take our minds off of it? Itsuka offered. Well, let's talk about who has the coolest outfit in class, Mina practically yelled with excitement. That sounds fun, Inasa agreed. Everything sounds fun to you, Toru deadpanned. You're like a easily excitable puppy. Yeah, but he makes everything a little funner with his attitude, Mashiro defended his friend. Back to outfits, Hanta said, eager to talk about this. Overall, I want to give it to Aizawa. His gauntlets, the goggles, his throat piece, and how he wears the jacket open to show how he is actually jacked is cool. I don't leave my jacket open to show off my muscles. I have pockets on the inside, Izuku stated. I agree with Shiro, Momo said. He gives off energy of being a strong guy. Her words made Katsumi give her an unseen dirty look, not liking that split second where the other girl was looking at Izuku's muscles. I like Kiwaro's outfit, Toru stated, making the black teen gain a blush which was gray in color. It fits his appearance and quirk really well. Thank you, Shihai replied while looking nervous. Ado looks like a knight and has his whole thing of honor and respect, and that is a cool suit with a matching attitude, Aijiro said. It works well for him. I think your outfit is great as well, Kirishima. Tenure returned the praise. It fits your whole manliness thing. Quill, whose outfit do you like? Ibara asked, trying to get the guy's attention. Batty's is okay, I guess, Quill replied. Fits her dark energy and wings. Your outfit fits your whole Quill's thing, Azula responded. Well, she wasn't rude at all. Hanta commented. I'm going to shove your shoulder pads down your throat. Azula gave Hanta a dirty look. That's expected. Meshura laughed a little. Overall, the best outfit is probably Aizawa's, Momo said, getting another unseen split-second dirty look from a certain blonde. I reject that and say it's Katsumi's, Izuku replied. His eyes closed and he was leaning back in his seat. It does make you seem fierce, Itsuka agreed. In hot, Hanta said before Kyoka elbowed him. Ignoring the last comment, I do agree I am fierce. Katsumi nodded, grinning that Izuku liked hers the best. But then again, he did design it. Was that his reasoning for liking her suit? Katsumi hoped there was more to it than that. What about quirks? Inasa changed the subject. Which quirk here has the best visual appeal or looks the best in use? Shizaki's is cool to see in action, Fumikage stated. What about yours, man? Mina said. You have a shadow that can work alongside you. That's really cool to see. I dunno, but I think it would be cool to see Yaoyorozu pull a rocket launcher from her arm, Hanta stated. That would be so badass. I haven't studied the molecular layout of weapons like that yet, Momo admitted. Kiwaro's moving around in shadows is really cool, Toru stated, again making the teen blush a color of gray. Gyro's is pretty neat, Itsuka claimed, especially when she sends out those waves of sound at people. You're pretty tight to watch too, Kyoka replied. Amane's shadow balls or whatever they are pretty cool, Katsumi said, especially since they apparently hit like a truck. I can confirm they hit like a truck, Hanta added. Felt like someone filled a giant bag with bricks and swung them at me at 100 kilometers an hour. Azula didn't reply but had a smirk from the praise of her dark energy attacks. We're here, Shota announced as he stopped the bus. Welcome to USJ. Universal Studios Japan, Hanta asked in excitement, before half the class looked at him with a dumbfounded expression. It's the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. Our special class is in the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, Ochako said with initial levels of excitement. Yep, Aizawa almost jumped at how excited the girl became. Now let's go inside and not waste time out here. They entered the massive building to see multiple smaller, but still huge areas. They could see what was easily a medium-sized lake with a decently sized ship on it. What appeared to be a small city area in a dorm that was dumping a storm inside of it. There was a second city area in a dome. That was red this time, so it could be assumed there was fires inside instead of a storm. There was also an area that was a giant mountain. Another area was also mountainous somewhat, although not as much, and looked like a landslide hit it. The final area looked like a city area that was in ruins. In the center of all of the areas was a park-like area with a fountain in the middle of it. Dude, this place is nice, Ijiro whistled as he looked around. Thank you, a voice got everyone's attention. Everyone looked to see the pro hero number 13, in her signature astronaut-looking suit. Number 13, Ochako squealed excitedly. You're the greatest rescue hero. I want to be a rescue hero because of you. Everyone was surprised at how much fangirl the Gravity Quirk girl had become suddenly. No one could see number 13's face, but the laugh that came out showed she was happy to see Ochako's enthusiasm. Why, thank you. Can't wait to work with you then, number 13 replied, causing Ochako to almost faint at the idea of working with her idol. Anyways, Aizawa wanted to bring the class back to focus. He looked around. Where is All Might? Number 13 held up 3 fingers, which went over the heads of the students. He has to deal with some problems from yesterday. He overdid things, number 13 said to Aizawa quietly. He will be here soon. Aizawa sighed. That man is the height of irrationality sometimes. Number 13 turned to the class. Hello students, she waved, and Ochako waved back with energy that everyone thought only Inasa was capable. Today you will be doing practice rescue operations and simulated disasters here at the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ for short. I built this place myself after many rescue operations to help train younger heroes and heroes in training to be prepared in every sort of disasters. Is that city on fire? Kyoka pointed to the red, domed section. That is the Conflagration zone. During a large-scale villain attack, most heroes will have to spend their time evacuating civilians while others subdue the villains. Or a large-scale fire like the ones that can happen in dry areas. Number 13 explained, clearly proud of her work. So the blue one is for hurricanes or villains that have water quirks, Momo asked. That is the Downpour zone. And yes, number 13 nodded. Can anyone tell me what is expected of you all today? Suyu raised her hand. To see how to use our quirks during rescue operations, because not all quirk uses are always straightforward. Mina nodded. Like how my quirk is acid. I would have to be precise in rescuing people trapped just out of normal reach. So we should learn how to implement our powers as controlled as possible. That way we don't hurt people, because our powers can help people, but if we lose control we could very well just make the situation worse, Izuku added. Like how my quirk could probably only be used in rescue situations to carefully cut through debris, but that might be a stretch, Quill said. I'm probably the least helpful with my quirk in a rescue situation. Number 13 liked this class. They were doing the lecture for her. She turned to Aizawa while the class talked. They are a bright bunch. Aizawa actually smiled lightly, surprising his fellow teacher. They think well, even the ones that you wouldn't think would. Number 13 called everyone's attention to her. You all actually went over most of what I wanted to say, especially quirk control. Some quirks can be extremely dangerous if control is lost. For example, my quirk, Black Hole. It allows me to replicate a black hole suction effect from my fingertips. The suction is very powerful and not even light can escape it. Anything sucked into the black hole is disintegrated into dust. If I lose control, I could very well accidentally pull and disintegrate civilians. Like how Uraraka could send someone into space if she doesn't stop her quirk, Fumikage said. Or Dark Shadow could be sent into a rage that I couldn't control. Or Yorashi could easily launch a person into a wall or the ground if he isn't careful with his winds, Itsuka pointed out. Or I could harm someone with my explosions if I'm not careful, Katsumi added. Number 13 liked how they didn't need her to guide them all the way through her lessons. They would be great to teach. Exactly. Always know your limits and the risks of too much. It could cause harm to you and to others. So we should never go past that limit. Then what's the point of the saying? Plus Ultra Kyoka asked. There are times when limits should be crossed, as long as it is in the name of good and you can handle the risks. Number 13 felt like asking Aizawa if she could teach the class from time to time. She was liking how they tried to think everything over. Before we begin the exercise today, I should only have a few more things to say. Before number 13 could finish, everyone saw a swirl of black mist appeared below the stairs at the central fountain. It looked solid in an area like a portal almost. What's that? Shihai asked as everyone saw a hand appear in the mist and soon a body followed it out. A man with place skin and cyan-colored hair stood there, covered in several severed hands, the most noticeable being the one covering his face. Aizawa narrowed his eyes at the person. Who were they? Could they be the group that broke into UA? Before, more people came out of the mist, the most imposing being a large being with a physique that matches All Might's. The being had black skin, a beak-like mouth that was twisted into a grotesque expression, and its literal brain was exposed to the air around it. It stood almost like a statue next to the man with the severed hands all over him. I see 2 teachers, but no All Might, the man with the severed hands said as he scratched his neck. The schedule we stole said he would be here. I guess we can waste time killing this class until he gets here. Azula paused at that. So another group was after UA, besides her master. And they stole a schedule. This made her realize she still had the papers she stole in an envelope back at the dorms. Aizawa grit his teeth hearing that comment. These were the people responsible for the break-in yesterday. Aizawa would be damned if he would allow harm to come to his students or his son. 13 Protect the kids. Aizawa rushed down the stairs. What's going on? Hanta was confused. Those are villains, Momo said, shocked. We actually are under attack this time, Izuku stated as he put on his goggles. He tried to make his way down to join his father. Number 13 put her arm in front of Izuku. I'm taking you all out of here. But my dad, he can handle himself, Number 13 said. She smacked the headset she had on. Damn, my signal is out. They must be jamming us. I will evacuate you kids and get help for your sensei. He is buying us time. Number 13 tried to lead them to the exit. It didn't sit well for Izuku to leave his father behind. He had to fight his own instincts to actually follow Number 13. He knew his father was a capable man, but something didn't sit right with Izuku about that villain with his brain exposed. Before they could leave through the door, more black mist appeared and blocked the way. What looked like a person made out of the mist with yellow eyes and a piece of metal below the eyes resembling a collar or brace spoke. Greetings, we are the League of Villains. I do apologize for the intrusion, but we took it upon ourselves to enter UA and engage All Might. We have come here today so that the symbol of peace may draw his last breath. The person spoke. He turned his head to scan the people in front of him. Where is All Might? Not here, so off, Quill shouted as the hairs on his upper body stood up on end. And he rushed the person. He made himself a promise to never hesitate again and would keep that vow. Striking the villain's midsection but falling through him like the person was made of fog, Quill rolled to stand back up. Everyone else tensed up at seeing their classmate not be able to hit the man. Was his body not able to be hit? Don't do anything else rash, Number 13 ordered the students. Please don't be so rude. We are just here for All Might. The mist guy narrowed his eyes at Quill. If you all can just tell us where All Might is, we can let this matter resolve peacefully for you. I seriously doubt that. Izuku tried to erase the man's quirk, doing so for a split second before it felt like a bomb went off in Izuku's brains and he fell over. Ah! Izuku yelped in pain as leaked from his nose. Izuku, Katsumi shouted as she went to his side. The man turned his gaze to Izuku. You can erase quirks. My master would love to see if the Namu can overcome that. A portal suddenly opened under Izuku, who was too in pain to move and fell through it. Aizawa and Asa and half of the class exclaimed as their class rep disappeared, the portal disappearing before they could grab him. What did you do? Katsumi shouted at the man of mist. What I am doing to you other kids now. The man replied as he opened portals under all of the kids. Only a few managed to avoid them as the kids were all separated. No, number 13 exclaimed as the kids were almost all gone. The only few still there were Mina, Ijiro, Hanta and Shihai. She glared at the villain. Where are they? They are still here. My job is to make sure that no one leaves this building. They are merely in your precious zones with some of our allies. The man answered. Number 13 froze for a second. The kids were all separated, with little experience in the field, surrounded by villains who wanted to kill them. She had to get help before it was too late. Conflagration zone. The Nasa made his winds whip around him to stop his fall. Hirashi, the voice of Tenya, got Nasa's attention, and he saw the other teen as well as Ibara falling to the flaming city as well. He quickly used his winds to grab the two and make them all land together on a rooftop. What happened? Ibara asked in worry as she kept herself away from the flames, being the one at the biggest risk from them. That villain must have separated us throughout the zones to confuse us, Tenya stated. He wouldn't put us outside or we could easily alert help. We might be surrounded by villains then, Anissa said. He could have moved them here as well so we could be picked off while they wait for All Might. Tenya knitted his brows. We have to get out of this zone and help the others then. Hirashi, can you use your winds to get rid of these flames? Ibara asked. My vines are useless around the fire. Inisa used his quirk to try to extinguish the flames. But any flames that would get extinguished would just pop back into life. Number 13 must have made these flames be relighting to add to the danger of the rescue training, Inisa said with a frown. This would make him using his winds more hazardous for the time being. We have to get moving though. Tenya had a frown. Let's just get to the bottom of this building and try to make our way to the exit. Right. The other two agreed as they entered the building to make their way down. Flood zone. As Momo fell, she created a hang glider quickly and used it to glide to the yacht in the middle of the flood zone. She had seen Tsuyu and Fumikage, who both had landed in the water close to the yacht. Takoyami Momo yelled to get his attention as she ran to the edge of the yacht and tossed a rope into the water to him. Grab the rope. Watch out, Tsuyu shouted as she kicked a shark-like villain that was about to attack Fumikage. She grabbed the bird boy and jumped onto the boat with a single jump. You have my thanks, Fumikage said to Tsuyu as they shook off some of the water. Are we the only three here? Momo asked. From what I saw, yes. The frog girl nodded. They separated us, and if I had to guess, more villains are after the others. Why aren't we being attacked right now? Fumikage asked as Dark Shadow popped out and looked around for them. They're in the water, Dark Shadow said, watching the boat. They must not know our quirks, Momo stated. Why else would they send Asui here to the flood zone where she would be best? That means they are in their best place but don't know what we can do for sure yet. Tsuyu reasoned. They must be waiting in us since they have us surrounded. We don't need to fight them, Fumikage said. Yaorazu, can you create anything like a jetpack? Momo nodded. I can. Do you think you have enough cells to make one for each of us? Fumikage asked. We can use those to fly to the entrance and make sure we can leave for help. Or cut through that wall over there. Tsuyu pointed to the wall closest to the flood zone. They might be guarding the door. I don't think I can make packs for all three of us and make a tool to escape as well. Momo felt a pit in her gut saying that. Go without me, Fumikage stated. Takoyami, no, both girls exclaimed. We won't leave you behind. Tsuyu got mad that Fumikage would even suggest himself staying with the villains. I have Dark Shadow, Fumikage said. I have backup with him. I will be fine. You two go get help for everyone else and don't waste time arguing with me. I'm not leaving you here, Momo said. We're all going or none of us go. Fumikage slapped Momo. Not hard, but definitely enough to get her to be quiet. I appreciate the camaraderie, but save that energy to save the whole class. If all three of us go, then the villains will just follow. I will stay and keep them here. I will be fine. Fumikage, they want to kill us. Tsuyu was getting madder that he was so willing to just throw himself at danger like that when he could just go with them in a different way. Fumikage sighed. He had made his decision and wasn't changing it. Dark Shadow, throw them. On it, Dark Shadow quickly got large and picked up the two girls. Takoyami, both girls shouted as they attempted to get out of Dark Shadow's hole. Stop, Tsuyu argued. You can't. Go get help, Fumikage stated as Dark Shadow threw the two girls with force towards the wall of USJ. Tokoyami, both girls shouted again, hating the decision their classmate had just made. Fumikage let out a breath as he watched the two girls look back at the flood zone from the distant edge that they were at. He knew that no doubt they were glaring at him angrily over his decision. He had a small smile as they did turn around for the wall instead of coming back and getting him. Dark Shadow, we need all of the attention on us. Fumikage looked at his shadow companion. I'm going to hurt a lot of them, Dark Shadow stated as he looked at the water, where villains were watching him with interest. I will fight any that get on the yacht. Fumikage nodded to his quirked shadow. Let's have fun. Dark Shadow had a devilish grin as a villain jumped at the shadow from the water. Landslide zone. Katsumi grit her teeth as she dropped through the air. Using explosions, she made a soft landing and looked to her side as Shoto slid next to her on ice. We're the only two here, Shoto stated. I'm finding Izuku, Katsumi said as she walked down the landslide. Hey looky here, a villain got their attention, as well as the attention of several of his allies. 2 little kids, and one of them is a nice-looking girl. Katsumi grit her teeth. Todoroki freeze everyone while I rip his balls off and get information. Shoto gave Katsumi a look, not sure if she would actually do that threat or not, but he complied and sent out ice. You're gonna talk a swipe, Katsumi shouted as she rushed her target. Downpour zone. Toru cursed as she slammed into the rooftop, the rain above her not helping the situation at all since her hero suit was still technically being nude and invisible. She really should work on that advice Izuku gave her the other day. Toru stood up and looked around. She was in the downpour zone, which with all of the rain was the worst place for her as you could see her form with the rain hitting her. She saw someone on a building across the street from her. It was Kyoka. Gyro, Toru shouted. A purple-haired girl got confused looking around at the building tops around her, confused because she couldn't see her classmate. Hagakure, where are you? I'm coming over, stay there, Toru yelled as she ran to the door into her building. Kyoka went to the door to her own building, planning on just getting out of the rain and waiting for Toru to find her. Mountain zone. Mashiro groaned as he slammed into the rocks and rolled till he hit a flat part of the mountain. Oh hell, that hurt. The tailed teen groaned. Anjiro Ochako shouted as she used her gravity quirk to get safely to him. Uraraka Mashiro was glad to see a familiar face. Are we the only two here? Help, a feminine voice shouted from farther down the mountain. That's Kendo. Mashiro get to his feet, wincing when he felt a strain on his ankle. We have to hurry to her. Let's go, Ochako agreed as they both rushed down the mountain. Ruined zone. Quill landed easily on top of a ruined building, his portal being near the rooftop. The redhead looked around as he tried to access the situation. If he had to guess, the mist villain made them all get separated into the zones of USJ as to overwhelm them, which means odds are at least one other person was in that zone. As he made that thought, someone landed next to him. Instincts taking over, he attempted to swing, but the person managed to avoid the swing. Quill, it's me, Azula yelped in surprise, not expecting the guy to swing so fast. Oh, say something next time. Quill responded. Did you see anyone as you flew to me? The dark-haired girl shook her head. I think it is just us. Well, we should find the others, and I am guessing they are in the other areas. Quill walked to the edge of his rooftop, which was only a few meters off of the ground since the building had collapsed. Villains will be here, won't they? Azula asked. As soon as she asked, the ground shook and the building split in half, separating the two. What the hell? Quill shouted. Azula reacted by flying into the air. Oh, we have a flyer, a villain clapped excitedly. Benson, take her out of the sky. On it, another villain who was Benson shouted as he motioned his arm, and a rock the size of Quill shot out of the ground and at Azula. The winged girl reacted in throwing shadow balls at the boulder that sent it away from her. Provide air support while I take them out down here, Quill shouted as he jumped off of the building and slammed a heavy fist into the villain Benson below him, shredding the villain's face with small cuts from his quills. We have a tough guy here. Another villain with silver lines up and down his body laughed. Get his head out of the clouds and down to reality, boys. Quill slammed his fist into the first villain to come at him, not using quills since he went for the throat. Come at me, Urs. Azula threw a ball of dark energy into a villain and knocked him out. Someone get her down here, the silver villain yelled. I got her, a villain shifted as he pointed his hand at the girl, a hole in his palm beginning to glow intensely. Amain, watch out, Quill shouted as he tried to get to the villain with the weird arm. He couldn't since 2 others blocked his path. The villain shot a ball of orange energy with lucky aim and Azula fell from the sky. Amain, Quill shouted in frustration as he slammed the 2 villains' heads into each other and leapt at the villain with the arm cannon Quirk, cutting it with his quills harshly before the villain can shoot Quill. The silver-lined villain smirked as he walked over to where Azula fell, Quill too preoccupied fighting off the other villains to notice. Entrance. Number 13 prepared her quirk, not wasting any time to get the man who just teleported 16 of the kids under her care into danger. I am going to give you kids an opening. Someone needs to get outside and go for help. Number 13 said. We can get you out, Mina. You are the fastest. Hanta said. Mina didn't like the idea of leaving everyone else behind to go get help, but of the 4 students left, she was the fastest with her quirk. You shouldn't say your plan right in front of your enemy. Gives them the chance to fight it. The man of mist said. You won't get the chance. Number 13 activated her quirk, pointing her index finger with the black hole at the mist, sucking it in. Ah yes, your black hole quirk. The man said. You are quite the famous rescue hero. However, a portal opened in front of the man and another right behind number 13. You have no combat experience. Number 13's quirk went into the portal and she ended up ripping the back of her suit up and destroying her own back. Which means you didn't see the gaping hole in the logic of using your quirk against me. Number 13 collapsed forward onto the ground. The 4 kids were in shock at how quickly and effectively this villain just incapacitated their teacher. Now let's hope you 4 provide a bit more challenge. The man faced the students. Plaza. Izuku fell to the ground with a thud. Izuku Shota gasped as he dropped his heel on a villain's head and knocked him out. What are you doing here? His son couldn't be here. They were supposed to be evacuating. Izuku stood up and Shota saw the leaking from his nose. Dad, a villain blocked our exit. He must have teleported everyone else by now. The man with hands covering him raised an eyebrow. Why would Kurogiri send the boy there? Did he call Eraserhead his dad? Eraserhead, I never knew you had a son. I can only imagine he has a razor like you. Both Aizawas made a face at the villain. He must have done research to know about Shota's quirk. This is perfect, a test for my weapon once I find out how your skill set works. Eraserhead Jr. A villain tried to attack Izuku, who retaliated by launching his chain right into the villain's gut. Everyone tire out the Eraserheads. The man with hands ordered his subordinates. Not you, Namu, he said to the large bird-faced person with his brain exposed. Dad, Izuku started. He had a bad feeling about the one called Namu. I know, Shota replied as he used his scarf to swing a villain around into another villain. Conflagration zone. Upon exiting the entrance of the building, the three teens ran into conflict. Boys, I found them. A villain with metallic hands grinned. Why are you after us? Inasa asked as he stood defensively in front of Tenya and Ibara. Killing is fun. One villain shrugged. Yurashi, don't try to reason with them, Tenya said. They came here to murder a class of kids and All Might. All Might is our main reason, a villain stated. You're all just a bonus, one more villain said. That grass-headed girl is a definite bonus, another added. Both Tenya and Inasa got pissed off looks at that. You're not getting anywhere close to her. Tenya grit his teeth. Inasa looked at the fire next to the villains and got an idea. The fires are ever going, so why not make a wall with his flames? Inasa channeled his winds and the flames followed, making a large wall of rotating flames that had continuous fuel as the flames were everywhere, separating the three teens from the villains. We should go quickly because I can't hold this forever, Inasa said. I'll lead. Tenya jumped over a car. We should go down this way. Inasa kept the flames and a wall behind them as he followed, focusing hard and keeping the flames in between them and the villains. The wall of fire started to lose fire, and Inasa could see the villains grinning as one of them sucked the fire to herself. You think we would not send people with fire quirks to the fire area? A villain laughed as the first villain pointed his metallic hand at Inasa. Suddenly a shot rang out and Inasa fell over. Yurashi, Ibara shouted. Flood zone. Fumikage ducked underneath the swing from a villain with arms made of steel, slamming his elbow into the man's side. Dark Shadow, I need assistance, Fumikage shouted as he dodged a swipe from a villain who had knives. Dark Shadow responded by throwing the shark villain he was holding and punching right into both villains. Thank you, Dark Shadow. No problem. The Shadow responded as he headbutted a villain hard enough to crash that villain through a wall of the yacht. Let's just sink the damn thing. A villain grit his teeth as the teen and his quirk were making them look like jokes. On it, another villain shouted as he prepared to use his quirk. Dark Shadow stopped them from sinking it, Fumikage said. If he lost the boat, then he lost his only thing preventing him from being overwhelmed by the villains. On it, Dark Shadow extended himself and went over the edge of the yacht to find and stop any villains trying to sink the boat. Now you're outnumbered, Brat. The shark villain grinned evilly as the 5 villains on deck all got ready to attack Fumikage. I wouldn't be so confident if I were you, Fumikage said in an attempt to make the villains think Fumikage was stronger than he really was. Truth be told, he was tired, and the 5 of them against him without Dark Shadow was not in his favor. Regardless, Fumikage got back into his stance and prepared to go down fighting. Downpour zone. Gyro Toru whispered as she got higher in the building. Hagakure. Kyoka whispered back from her spot. SSSH. Toru made her way to the earphone girl. Why are you hiding? Villains are here. Get in. Kyoka pulled the girl into the office area she was using as a safe area. I'm staying here and planning on waiting for help. I don't have much training. I set some traps, but they aren't that good. What about the others? Toru asked. I'm not being selfish by staying here, Kyoka responded. The others are tough, they will be fine. We both aren't that strong, so our best bet is to play defense. I guess, Toru agreed. I hope everyone is doing fine, she said as she helped Kyoka move a desk. I hope so too, Kyoka replied. It ate her up inside, but there were a lot of villains outside from what she could hear, so they had to do this. Get ready, some are coming. Mountain zone. Kendo Mashurao yelled as he jumped over a small hill, seeing the orange-haired girl. I'm here, Itsuka shouted as she swung her enlarged fist into a villain. She was in a sitting position because her leg had broken when she fell from her portal. Villains had surrounded her. Get away from her, Mashurao shouted as he slammed his tail into a villain and sent the villain into another. More kids to play with. A villain with 4 arms laughed. Uraraka, help, Kendo Mashurao said as he began to fight 3 villains at the same time. Them not expecting the boy to be so bold in his attacks, giving him the advantage. Achako quickly tapped Itsuka and the orange-haired girl started to float up. Uraraka, tie this to you. Itsuka untied her mask and handed one side to Achako. This boy has skill. A villain grinned as Mashurao took out all 3 villains he was fighting. I pride myself on it, Mashurao stated as he hid the wince he got from putting pressure on his ankle. Let's see who has more, the four-armed villain challenged Mashurao. Mashurao didn't hesitate to attack the villain, dodging many of his strikes since Mashurao had the speed advantage. Izuku was now floating by Ochako like a balloon tied to the gravity girl, using her enlarged hands to keep villains away from them, while Ochako began to use her quirk on most of the enemies to make them float up and away. I'm going to drop them all soon, Kendo, so be ready to fall, Ochako said as she tapped another enemy. Okay. The martial artist nodded as she rotated in the air so she wouldn't land on her broken leg. All Mashurao yelling got their attention as he was slammed into the side of the mountain. You're good, kid, but you don't have nearly enough skill, the four-armed villain remarked as he grabbed the down kid by his tail. This does make you have a unique style, however. The villain swung Mashurao by his tail into the ground. Ajiro, Ochako exclaimed. You're a raka, let me go, Izuku yelled. Maybe I should make you no longer unique, the villain contemplated, ripping the boy's tail off. Get away from him, Kendo jumped at the villain with her one good leg and slammed an enlarged fist into the man's face. Mashurao broke out of the man's hold, rolling away and weakly getting up. Thanks, Mashurao coughed as he stood next to Izuku, who was standing on her one good leg. I should say that to you, Izuku replied. You got here before they could get me. I'm not done yet, brats, the four-armed villain shouted as he got up. Mashurao and Izuku both slammed a fist into the guy's face, not realizing how Mashurao's limp tail was within reach of the man, who grabbed it as he fell over a small cliff of the mountain from the blows, taking Mashurao with him. Ajiro, both girls yelled as they moved to the edge. Entrance. Shihai was freaking out. Their teacher got taken out with her own quirk. Oh, you bet we are enough of a challenge, Ajiro said as he shot at the villain with a strike rod. That won't work on me, the mist man said as he opened a portal in front of and behind himself to have the boy go past him. Good thing I wasn't planning on the first move working. Ajiro grinned as he stood up. His whole plan was really to spur the others into action. It worked as Hanta shot out tape at the villain's neck brace and yanked the villain towards him. His metal thing is the weak spot. Shihai snapped into action. His ability was to control anything black and enter them. This guy looked like a walking dark shadow. Shihai jumped at the man and disappeared into him. Whoa, Kiwaro, are you controlling him? Ajiro asked. Ashido go, Shihai shouted as he struggled with the man for control. Mina nodded as she ran to the door, not bothering to open it, but she burned through it with her acid and was gone as soon as possible. I'll be back. Restrain him, Shihai yelled to his classmates as he struggled for control in a losing battle. Before the others could do anything, the man managed to rid himself of Shihai, throwing the boy into the ground head first with force. That was unexpected, a man remarked as he cursed his situation. I must take my leave now. He had to report that a kid got away to his master. The three students blinked as the man disappeared. What do we do now? Ajiro asked. More people might come this way for safety. The others are here in USJ and we have to stay here to make sure no villains get in or out, Hanta said. I don't feel so good, Shihai said as the other two noticed pouring from his head where he had been hit into the ground. Kiwaro, you're bleeding, Ajiro shouted, shocked at how much was coming out of the boy. Shihai out his hand in his hair and felt how wet everything was. Oh, he said before his vision got blurry and he fell over. Kiwaro, Hanta exclaimed as the two boys rushed to their fallen comrade. Near the flood zone. I got it, Momo said quietly as she finished cutting through the wall. Okay, Suyu replied quietly. The two girls were too bothered by Fumicade's choice to have much energy, but they still made a way to get help regardless. They wouldn't let him make actions in vain. Landslide zone. What the hell is it? Namu Katsumi yelled at the villain as she held one of her hands in the villain's face. Shoto had frozen every villain to their spot and also the one Katsumi wanted to fight after the fact that she had beaten him for a minute. I don't know what a Namu is, the villain responded. You're lying, Katsumi smacked the villain. That Misty took my friend to test a Namu. Now tell me what the Namu is. It's probably that bird freak, another villain shouted. That unresponsive thing whose brain is out of its head. Katsumi frowned. That was the Plaza, which means Izuku is down there with the main villain and thankfully his father. She slammed a fist into the villain's gut. Todoroki, I'm going to the Plaza. I don't care if you follow. She used her explosions to make her way down there fast when she stopped. Not liking what she saw at all, she rushed even faster. Ruined zone. Quill slammed his elbow into the final villain's windpipe, making him lose his breath before Quill headbutted the man into unconsciousness. He could now go find Azula and make sure she was okay. Amain, Quill shouted as he climbed over the edge of the rooftop. She's right here, the silver-lined villain said, holding Quill by the back of her neck. The attack from earlier had gone through her left wing, but she had been beaten more by the man before Quill showed up. Let her go, Quill scowled as his hairs stood back up. You know, the man began. I wondered why you looked familiar for some punk kid. Then I found this neat little thing the girl had. The man held up the photo that Azula had taken the night before from Quill's childhood home. She had taken it with her hero suit hoping to speak to Quill. A small red-headed boy named Kuroda. You're that brat that followed that Akihide around before that bastard got what he deserved. Quill wasn't even questioning Aizawa having a picture of his past life. He was too busy feeling rage at someone bad-mouthing his idol and the best man he ever knew. Shut up. I never got to get even with Akihide, but I can definitely make him roll over in hell by killing his brat apprentice and his girlfriend. The man tightened his grip on Aizawa's neck, making her struggle to breathe. Quill saw fear in Aizawa's eyes, whose eyes he just now realized were really blue, and had a flashback to years ago, to his most traumatizing life moment. Hirota, the small girl with blue eyes, cries out in fear when her brother opened the door and saw the scene of horror in his house. The everywhere. Hanabi, Hirota exclaimed as the man snapped her neck. Aizawa had that same fear at that moment, and it infuriated Quill that this man was causing that fear. Let her go. Quill was visibly shaking with rage. She has nothing to do with this. The man gave out a laugh. Oh, so suddenly you have morals? I know damn well Akihide did not give you those. Aizawa tired to break free, and the man's silver lining ran forward and he stabbed her in the side. Not anywhere vital yet. Quit struggling, the man growled. I have a bone to pick with little Hirota here. Quill had to calm himself down right at that moment so he wouldn't mess up. Daichai always said that he must remain calm in order to do his best in tense situations. He looked at Aizawa, who was looking back at him with tears in her eyes. Aizawa, trust me, Quill said as he quickly ripped a sharpened hair off of his, ignoring the pain from removing it, and threw it straight at them. The hair stayed sharp as it went through the air and hit the man in his eye. Son of a, the man exclaimed as his grip on Aizawa weakened and she elbowed him as hard as she could, followed up by Quill moving in to slam a fist into the man's face. Quill yanked Aizawa away from the man and behind him. Go get out of here, he said as he pushed her away. What? No, Aizawa looked confused as she kept one hand on her bleeding side. You really are an annoying shit just like him. The man growled as he ripped the quill from his eye, which became dull like a regular hair again. I'm going to make sure you get a fast ticket to hell to see him. The silver on the man ran off of him and at Quill, who dodged the lines of silver. Don't argue now, Amain, Quill shouted as he kept getting closer to the man as he dodged attacks. You're bleeding. I'm not abandoning you, she snapped as she attempted to make a ball of dark energy, the power fizzling out because she was too weak to make anything strong enough. Her energy requiring proper focus to work, and half her focus was on her bleeding side. Both of you will die then, the man shouted as he sent lines at them both. Aizawa didn't see the silver quick enough to dodge herself. Aizawa waited to feel the piercing of her skin but didn't feel anything. Opening her eyes, she saw Quill in front of her with 5 different lines of the silver material going all the way through him. 3 in his and 2 in his left leg. The lines of silver were covered in quills coming out of his back. Quill, Aizawa was shocked. Why would Quill jump in front of the attack for her? I said go, Quill coughed. This is personal business. So precious. The villain mocked as he sent out 2 more lines of silver straight for Quill's head. Time slowed down for Aizawa in that moment. It didn't make sense to her that Quill would so willingly take hits so close to fatal for someone else who has done nothing but be it to him and everyone else. It was even made clear that she snooped on his secret mourning of his family, so why would he just up and do something like that? He had that goal of avenging his family that he was throwing away for some random class, and it didn't make sense to her at all. It infuriated her, and that sparked her dark energy back to life as her sclere turned black and cracks appeared around her eyes. She moved with lightning fast speed and snapped the 2 lines that were going for Quill's head like they were twigs before everything snapped back to normal and the huge wave of energy left her, her eyes returning to normal. What the hell, the man cursed as he pulled back all of his silver lines back to him, making more pour from Quill. Quill fell to one knee and coughed more. Good shit, Amain. Aizawa snapped 2 balls of energy to her hands as she faced the villain. Quill, you need to go now. Quill smirked as he stood back up. If you aren't leaving, neither am I. Aizawa hid her smile. Glad he stayed with her even though he should leave with his condition. No one ever tried to actually help her or anything like this before. You both are so cute, the man said with sarcasm. It'll be nice to kill you. Let's knock his shit, Quill said as he got into his best fighting stance he could hold in his condition. Gladly, Aizawa cracked her knuckles while having the biggest smile she has ever had. Conflagration zone. Tenya shot through the air and kicked the villain who shot an assa, knocking him out from the impact of his boots on the villain's jaw. The other villains weren't as close, so Tenya used the opportunity to pick an assa up and move as fast as he could back to Aibara, who thankfully had moved farther away from the situation. When he caught up to Aibara, he grabbed her as well. Ignoring the fact that the combined weight of his classmates was a bit much to hold, he carried them and pushed his engines into high gear to run faster. Sliding to a stop in an alley, he leaned an assa against the wall of a building. Yurashi, where is it? Tenya tried to find the bullet wound. It's in my O, getting shot hurts. Inasa heaved as he held his side. Let me, Aibara said as she kneeled next to Inasa. I have some medical practice. I'll keep watch, Tenya said as he turned to face the street. I need you to open your jacket so I can get a closer look, Aibara stated as she helped Inasa. Investigating the wound in his abdomen, she frowned. It's much larger than a regular bullet should be, and the bullet seemed to disintegrate. What does that mean? Tenya asked. The villain's quirk might have unique bullets. The vine-haired girl out a hand on the bleeding wound. It also has a purple substance. It might be poisoning him. My vision does seem like I'm wearing 3D glasses. Inasa stated. He was burning up and everything was starting to feel blurry and slowed to the wind user. We need to get him to someone who can make an antitoxin. Aibara looked at Tenya. We have to avoid conflict and leave as fast as possible. Tenya stated. I'll carry him. Please stay close, Shizaki. The engine user said as he hoisted his wounded classmate onto his back. Yurashi, please stay with us. Everything looks like rainbows. Inasa commented. How long does he have? Tenya looked at Aibara beside him as they went farther down the alley with haste. The vine-haired girl recalled the wound. He has at most a few hours, given the size of the wound and how much he has already lost. He might not even be aware of what is happening right now anymore though. Your hair is pretty, the wind user said to Aibara. The vine-haired girl showed no reaction. He probably lost his filter and any reasoning. I think that we should go this way until we get to the wall of the dome and then keep going until we find a door, Tenya said as they turned a corner and kept going through the alleys. Mountain zoned. I found him, Itsuka yelled happily. The two girls had ran down the mountain. After Itsuka made a splint to deal with her broken leg and searched for their fallen teammate, Mashura was on a pile of rocks and it looked like he was out cold, his having covered the ground around him in a pool. His right arm and both of his legs were broken from his fall. Ajiro Achako shouted as she slid down the mountain. She dropped next to him and tried feeling for a pulse. He's alive, she shouted to Itsuka happily. Oh, thank God, Itsuka replied as she made her way down slower than Achako due to her injury. We have to get him out of here now. Achako used her quirk on Mashura and held onto his arm to not let him float away. We have to get out of here as soon as possible. He might have internal bleeding. Downpour zone. The door got broken down and a villain walked into the office space. I swear those brats are in this building. Aof, you probably saw jack shit and just want to break doors. Another villain replied. Hurry up and find the little shits. I haven't killed in a week and I'm getting antsy. Shut the up. The first villain shot back. They're here. I know it. If they aren't, I'm stabbing you. Kyoka wrote something down in her hiding spot and let the invisible girl next to her read it. These two seem like one thing would make them fight each other. Toru nodded and silently moved out of their hiding spot underneath the desk in the manager's office, moving quietly to get in between the villains, staying in a cubicle and grabbing a stapler carefully to not be seen. If you stab me, I will rip your goddamn throat out. The first villain spat while facing away from the second villain, who was also facing away from him. Toru quickly threw the stapler at the first villain, hitting him in the back of the head. The villain grew a tick mark as he turned around. Why the did you throw that shit at me? I have no idea what your dumbass is talking about. The second villain glared at the first, who ran over and slammed a fist into his face. You know exactly what I am talking about, shithead. The villains began to fight while Toru quickly made her way back to Kyoka. Flood zone. Fumikage narrowly dodged the strike from the shark villain. The bird-headed teen was close to exhaustion, just dodging the strikes from the villains who were slowly overwhelming him. Dark Shadow, Fumikage yelled. I think it is time we abandon ship. The shadow quickly shot back to Fumikage, smashing the shark villain into the wall of the yacht as it did. Let me cut completely loose, they can't stop an enraged Shadow. We don't kill Dark Shadow, Fumikage shook his head. Shame I do. A villain appeared behind Fumikage and stabbed a large claw into Fumikage's back. Fumikage lost his control of Dark Shadow in that moment, the sentient shadow losing its little calm and becoming fully enraged at the sight of his masters being spilled. The shadow slashed sharp claws at the villain who stabbed Fumikage and ripped the villain's torso open in one swipe. Dark Shadow roared as it grew in size, making sure that Fumikage, who had blacked out from the stab, was safely inside of the shadow before it began to assault the other villains on the yacht. Ruins. Quill dodged past the silver as he rushed to get in close to the villain, who had began to move all of his silver at the two teens. Azula kept blasting the silver away from her with her dark energy, which had stabilized after she had that surge earlier. You two can certainly put up a fight, but that's over now. The villain sent out the two lines he had filtered through the ground, attempting to strike the two with the element of surprise. Quill managed to dodge his attack barely, but Azula wasn't as lucky, it going right through her right calf. Ah, the winged girl cried out in pain. Amain, Quill shouted as he dodged more silver lines, his movements getting slower due to loss. How about this, Akihide's brat, the man said. You can leave for now, but I keep the girl. I want you to suffer for a while before I finally kill you. Azula's eyes went wide. She didn't want Quill to give her up to this man. She believed that her classmate would value his life and leave. The redhead started to laugh mockingly. You keep comparing me to my sensei, but yet you really think I would do something that is the opposite of what he would teach? Quill began to move closer to Azula, keeping his gaze on the villain. Go yourself, you one-eyed. The man growled. Fine then. I guess she dies. A thick line of silver shot out of the man and straight at Aizawa at a blinding speed. Quill saw the fear in Aizawa's blue eyes and he didn't hesitate to move. He would never make the same mistakes he did and would make sure no one else died because of him. Aizawa froze when the silver shot right through Quill's and his splattered across her face. The Plaza. Both Izuku and Shota were being pushed to their limits. It's not that everything thrown at them was strong. It was that there were so many of them. The man with hands clapped his hands together. You Eraserheads certainly are amazing at your combat skills. It's a shame we don't have such a strong party member on our team with your abilities. It would certainly lower the difficulty of our quest here. Izuku grunted as an attack got past his defense from a villain with brass arms. The woman's fist hitting Izuku's ribs and cracking 2 of them. Izuku coughed up and another villain used that as an opportunity to throw an attack at Izuku's jaw that sent him back. Izuku Shota lost focus for a second as he saw his son fall over. Don't lose focus, the hand-covered man shouted as he rushed Shota. He kept attempting to get his hands on Shota, so the erasing quirk user assumed that his quirk relied on touch. Izuku was not close enough to Namu, who gave no reaction to the boy, that he could sense the thing's quirk. It felt unnatural, like the person from the entrance. Dad, Izuku said as he dodged a strike from the brass woman. This Namu's quirk is weird. Shota nodded as he kept locking off the hand person's quirk. Can you tell me more? Izuku launched a chain at the hand person's back, missing slightly and instead hitting his leg. It feels like different quirks. The color keeps changing. Izuku erased the quirk of the brass woman and kicked her jaw, knocking her out. She was the final villain besides the leader and the Namu. Multiple quirks, Shota murmured as he fixed his scarf, given the opportunity his son just gave him. The main villain scowled behind the hand he used as a mask. This brat was complicating things. A portal appeared and the mist villain from the entrance appeared. A student has escaped and our window is smaller, the person reported. The handman's scowl got larger. Why couldn't this just go the way he wanted? Namu, the main villain, shouted, and the Namu snapped to look at him. Break Eraserhead while I get his son. The Namu immediately ran at Shota with blinding speed that Shota was only barely able to dodge and avoid. The leader turned his attention to Izuku. I never knew Eraserhead had a son. Tell me, do you also erase quirks or can you only feel them? Why would I tell you? Izuku asked as he shot his left chain out at the villain, who dodged it with surprising speed. You're intelligent for a brat, the man remarked as he grabbed the chain before Izuku could make it return, the chain breaking down into dust. However, you know my quirk, so it is only fair. Don't be a villain and try to talk about fairness. Izuku erased the man's quirk and ran up for close combat. They were evenly matched in speed and were able to block each other's attacks. So because I have a different lifestyle, my opinion is not valid, the man asked, deciding to talk to the boy as they fought. You came here to kill a man who has probably only arrested your friends, and you are trying to kill kids that have nothing to do with it at all because you were bored and impatient, Izuku said as he dodged a leg sweep and threw a right hook that was also blocked. You are oddly blunt for a kid. The man was trying to figure out how Izuku's erasing ability worked. He clearly erased his decaying quirk and didn't need to maintain eye contact at all like his father, although his hair reacted the same way to the quirk being active. You are trying to find a way to distract me during our fight and find holes in how I fight, Izuku stated as he successfully hit the villain in his ribs, cracking one. That won't work. An opponent trying to distract Izuku in a one-on-one fight was useless when Katsumi was his sparring partner for years. Her abrasiveness and beauty were distracting to Izuku until he found ways to focus in fights. You're an annoying brat, the man stated as he held his side. You would be a good ally if I thought I had the ability to recruit you. Izuku was far enough away from the man that he dropped his erasing so he could catch his breath from the ability. I don't take that as a compliment. A cracking sound and a cry of pain made Izuku turn to see the Namu had stomped Shota into a crater and had broken his arm. Dad, your Eraserheads have the same problem with focus, the man commented. Namu, I like this boy, so only put him in a coma. The Namu stepped off of Shota and rushed Izuku, who made a telekinetic wall of green energy that blocked the creature. The Namu crashed into it with confusion and the wall cracked, leaking more from Izuku's nose. You have telekinesis also, the main villain asked with interest. The boy had a powerful quirk indeed. Its telekinetic energy. Katsumi made her entrance as she slammed her heel down on the villain's shoulder, popping his arm out of its socket. The villain screamed as he clutched his dislocated arm in pain. Why are all of these brats coming out of the woodwork? Izuku yelped in pain and clutched his head as the Namu smashed through his energy wall. More was leaking from Izuku's nose and his head was starting to feel like someone was repeatedly hitting it with a sledgehammer. Izuku Katsumi ran to his side. Namu, get the new brat, the villain cursed. The Namu ran at Katsumi, who froze when she saw the large brute flash towards her and swung his fist. Izuku ignored the pain in his head and acted fast. The sounds of bones breaking echoed across the plaza. Outside, Mina finally found a teacher as she kept running to the main campus. It was All Might. "Young Nishito, why are you not at USJ right now?" the large man asked as he noticed how frantic the pink girl looked. "Villains are attacking the class." Mina was breathing heavily. "They trapped us in the zones and want to kill you and us." Mina had tears by the end. All Might's famous smile disappeared and was replaced with a scowl. "You did good escaping to tell me. Go to the main building and let the rest of the staff know. I will save the class." All Might immediately launched off with full force. Ruins was pouring out of Quill's at a rapid rate where the silver pierced his, going right through his left lung. "Why?" Aizawa asked in shock. "Why are you defending me so much?" Tears were streaming down her face. No one had ever treated her with kindness in years. Why was this guy throwing his life away for her? "I made a promise." Quill coughed as he walked forward towards the villain, actively pushing himself further onto the silver that impaled him. The villain was in shock that the kid was still going at this point. Any normal person would just stop after being stabbed through like that. Quill ignored the pain as the silver was still stabbed through his. "That I would never let anyone die because of me." The villain actually felt fear as he saw Quill's coal-black eyes that he recognized from a villain he encountered years ago. The amount of rage and barely hidden insanity that they held. And that I wouldn't stop until he faced justice. Quill smashed the silver in front of him, breaking it off from the villain. The villain snapped out of his stupor and sent more silver at Quill, who somehow had energy still to dodge the silver, pulling the thick broken bar out of his in the process and throwing it at full force at the villain, who wasn't prepared and got pierced through the heart with it, killing him almost instantly. Aizawa stared in shock at Quill, who was a bleeding mess littered with holes, breathing heavily. The sheer amount of willpower he had at that moment was massive just to keep standing. His willpower caved at that moment and Quill fell over. "Quill!" the winged girl shouted as she limped over to the downed boy, rolling him onto his back. "Quill!" The boy was slowly getting a foggy look in his eyes. He hated how everything felt at that moment. The weightlessness was just unnatural to him. "Can I see the picture?" Aizawa nodded as she grabbed the discarded picture from his childhood, handing it to the redhead. "Quill, you're going to be fine." She didn't believe her own words. His wounds were too many to let him even last an hour or two unless someone like Recovery Girl was there. Quill ignored her as he looked fondly at the picture. He also doubted he would make it past the day. No matter how much he needed to, he couldn't believe it. A tear fell from his eye. "I wanted to avenge my family, make him face justice for killing them. Amen. Please find Evacuation and make him pay for me." Quill closed his eyes for what he believed was the last time. Aizawa didn't move for a solid few seconds. Why was the man Quill was after her master? Her master said he had never killed before, that he wasn't that kind of villain. What was going on? Once she snapped out of that, she shook Quill. "Quill, get up, you have to keep your promise." She kept shaking the boy before she tried to get him to sit up on her own. "Quill, come on." She began to sob as she tried to pick him up, but he was too heavy. She had to get him to safety. She kept trying to lift him because she couldn't let the first person to show her kindness in years die. Plaza. Katsumi had frozen in shock. The Namu was a second from crushing her under his strength, but Izuku had gotten in the way. The leader of the villains was in shock at the speed the boy had just used. Was that a bonus from his telekinetic powers? Why didn't the boy use that speed earlier against him? Could he not use his own telekinetic powers and erase Quirk's at the same time? Izuku had used his telekinetic powers to make him block the attack for Katsumi, using it in his right arm to brace for the impact. His attempt wasn't perfect, and the Namu's punch had shattered every bone in the boy's right arm, was leaking out of his nose and now his mouth. "You are not touching her as long as I am standing," Izuku said coldly, locking eyes with the Namu. While he did admire the boy's defiance, he still had to get rid of the brat. "You heard him, Namu. Make sure he can't stand anymore." The Namu slammed one fist into Izuku's right thigh, breaking the bones there before it kicked into his right calf and broke those bones as well. Izuku cried in pain, but the Namu didn't stop there as it slammed another fist into Izuku's ribcage before the boy could properly brace for the attack, breaking several of his ribs and sending him a few meters away, barely moving where he fell. Izuku Katsumi shouted in shock before she turned to the main villain in anger. "I'm going to make you regret that." The villain laughed. "I am quite sure you mean to do that, but trust me, girl, we are out of your league." "Namu, get rid of her." The Namu didn't waste time in attempting to attack her. However, a ball attached to a chain shot at the Namu with blinding speed and bashed part of its brain in. Everyone in the area followed the chain, which led back to Izuku, who by all means shouldn't have been standing like he was. Izuku had used his telekinetic energy to lift himself up and also used the gauntlet on his broken arm. Everyone could see that had soaked through his clothes, as well as the clearly broken legs in his leg and the pouring out of his nose, mouth and ears, caused by him pushing his telekinetic powers to their limits. It was a testament of his willpower that he was standing. "I said," Izuku breathed heavily. "You are not touching her as long as I am standing." Izuku's head was pounding and his body was begging him to just drop, but he wouldn't let them harm Katsumi as long as he breathed. The villain with hands covering him began to scratch his neck. He was liking this kid's grit but also hating how annoying he was. Izuku Katsumi wanted to tell him so bad to stop. She could see how straining it was for him to just stand there. Namu, make sure he doesn't get back up, the main villain said as he continued to scratch his neck. The Namu rushed Izuku again, but Izuku was now ready. He dodged the attack with ease thanks to his telekinetic energy, but it was still causing him head pains. He didn't care about that as long as there was a threat to Katsumi. He swung his one good arm at the Namus, and to everyone's surprise, thanks to his telekinetic powers fueling his movements, the strike broke apart the Namu's side into bits. The Namu keeled over in pain but got up just as fast as his body rapidly healed. Master Shigaraki, the mist person said to the person with hands covering him. This kid seems to be quite gifted. The leader, now known as Shigaraki, scratched his neck. He's being an annoying brat. Kurogiri, get rid of him. Hell no, Katsumi shouted as she jumped at the mist person faster than he could prepare for and grabbed his neck brace. Touch him and I will blow you to hell. Not very heroic of you to make a threat like that, Shigaraki said to try and get in Katsumi's head. Never said I was trying to be heroic with it. Katsumi scowled. She knew he was trying to throw her off and she didn't care. Shigaraki attempted to grab Katsumi, but a wall of ice shot in between them. You won't be doing that easily, Shoto said coldly as he looked at Shigaraki. Namu, Shigaraki shouted. Get rid of that brat and then these two. The Namu began to try and attack Izuku with renewed vigor. Tenya, Inasa and Ibara had escaped the conflagration zone successfully and ran into the plaza to find that scene laid out in front of them. Dear Lord, Ibara covered her mouth with a hand. We have to help them, Tenya said. Ibara stopped the engine user from moving. You take Garashi to safety. I will help them. Tenya nodded as he ran for the entrance with the poison wind user on his back. The Namu almost got Izuku before vines erupted from the ground and yanked its arm to the ground. You shall not harm my classmates anymore, Ibara said calmly as she made more vines pull the Namu to the ground to restrain it. Hell yeah, Katsumi yelled happily at the new arrival. Shigaraki scowled as he scratched his neck with more ferocity, hating that more brats kept popping up. Namu, Shigaraki shouted with anger. Get rid of the brat on Kurogiri, he needed his escape guaranteed if anything. The Namu suddenly broke out of the vines and tried to rush Katsumi. Izuku used a powerful shout that broke his neck piece to get it away from where it was heading. The wave of energy sent the Namu only a few meters away, but that was still a feat considering its strength and Izuku's condition. You're not going to touch her, Izuku yelled with a hoarse voice. His powers were on the verge of crashing, but he still didn't care at all. Everyone was shocked that he was still going, and that he gave off an intimidating aura despite his condition. Namu, ignore him, Shigaraki really disliked that kid. No, Izuku used another shout, considerably weaker than his first one, came out of his mouth with the shout. Izuku, stop, Katsumi cried out. It hurt her to see him causing himself pain just to protect her. We have this under control, just stop please. Yes, please stop because your girlfriend is crying, Shigaraki commented. Namu, get rid of her now. The Namu ran at Katsumi again, but Izuku created a wall that cracked easily compared to the first one. I said not while I am standing. Izuku scowled at the villains. Namu, break his stupid face, and Shigaraki ordered the Namu. The Namu complied and rushed Izuku. Izuku was barely dodging at this point. Ibara, Katsumi shouted. Keep this here down. She jumped off of Kurogiri as vines ensnared his neck brace. She blasted her way to the Namu. Get away from him. She rocked the back of the Namu with explosions and tore its flesh apart with the blast. The Namu healed just as fast from the injuries as he gained them. Namu, just get rid of them both, Shigaraki commanded. The Namu grabbed Katsumi off of his back and attempted to crush her in his hands, but Izuku started to use his telekinetic energy to stop the Namu. The Namu was cracking the energy around Katsumi, and Izuku could barely handle the mental strain he had put himself through. A wave of ice sliced through the Namu's left leg and arm, releasing Katsumi. Shoto made another wave that carried Katsumi away from the Namu safely. Thanks, Ice Pop. Katsumi got to her feet. That thing keeps healing fast, Shoto stated. Let's just blow it up until there's nothing left, Katsumi said as she kept her eyes on the Namu. Is everyone at UA horrible at focusing, Shigaraki asked as he attempted to grab Katsumi by the back of her neck. UA, main building. Momo and Tsuyu practically broke down the door to the building. Students were in the hallway as well as a reporter, a cameraman, and Nezu. How do you think hero course classes will go this year? With All Might as the reporter stopped as well as everyone else to turn to the two kids who broke down the door. Villains are attacking USJ, Momo didn't hesitate to say. Our class is still there, Tsuyu added. Nezu immediately grabbed his phone to alert the staff. We will handle the situation. I'm sorry, but this interview must end now. The principal moved quickly through the hall. Girls, you come with me. No one had seen Nezu look mad like he was. No one messes with his school or students. Entrance. Tenya got up the stairs to the entrance and found Ijiro and hand attending to Shihai. Ida, both boys cries out happily as they saw him. Where is everyone else? Tenya asked with concern. We don't know, you're the first one here. Ijiro ran over to help Tenya with Inasa. What happened to Yurashi? He got shot with a poisoned bullet. We ran away from the conflagration zone. Those villains are still there. The engine user answered. Was anyone else with you? Hanta asked. Shizaki, but she stayed in the plaza to help Aizawa, Todoroki and Bakugo. Help with what? Hanta asked as he made tape to stop the bleeding that the unconscious Inasa was doing. Before he could answer the question, the door to USJ got broken down by a furious All Might. He looked at the kids with concern despite the pissed-off look he had. Where are the others? All Might asked. Everyone got separated into the zones, but the big villains are down there. Ijiro pointed to the plaza. But everyone is separated in the zones right now with villains after them. I shall go through the zones first, All Might said as he took off to the closest zone. Plaza, get away from her. Izuku slammed a punch into Shigaraki's jaw, the blow sending him away from the girl. The Namu saw the strike as it was about to happen, and its programming to protect Shigaraki kicked in. Moving faster, it smashed its fist into his side, breaking his ribs even more and sending him away, skipping across the ground like a rock. Katsumi aimed her gauntlets at the Namu. You bastard. Namu-ing, kill those brats, Shigaraki snapped as he held his broken jaw. The Namu tried to bring its fist down on Katsumi, but again a ball and chain shot and smacked into its jaw. Everyone turned in surprise to see that Izuku was standing again. The difference was this time he didn't have his telekinetic energy active, the powers not working as Izuku drained them. He was standing solely with his willpower, leaning on his one relatively undamaged leg, using his broken arm's gauntlet still by propping it up with his unbroken arm. Izuku was breathing heavily and had a few ribs exposed to the air from the attack now, covering a majority of his body and clothes. I said, you're not touching her while I can stand. Izuku coughed hard. His classmates were in awe of how much of a beating Izuku had taken, and he kept going just to protect Katsumi. Namu-ing, kill him. Shigaraki really hated that kid now. Couldn't the little just die or staying down for a minute? The Namu grabbed the chain before Izuku could reel it back in and yanked it hard, pulling the boy towards it as it slammed a punch into Izuku's face, shattering his goggles on the right side of his face. The other kids gasped at the action and saw Izuku fall to the ground, all hoping he would show his tenacity and get back up. Sadly, they didn't see the slightest movement from the boy. Katsumi had a shocked expression as Izuku bled and didn't move from his spot on the ground. She couldn't believe how much he kept going to protect her. The length he went just for her proved he liked her, and it made part of Katsumi mad that she didn't get the chance to tell him how she felt. She turned to the Namu with a scowl. I'm going to blow you to hell.